Hey, it's Russ Payton with Role Playing Public Radio, this RPPR actual play. We're playing Call of Cthulhu today. This scenario is called For King and Country, and that is because we are fighting for king and country in the, World War I, in the trenches, and I am not running this game. Adam Scott Glancy is. Hello, Scott. How you doing?
Welcome back to the Great War. Nothing bad's ever happened to you here from the very first scenario you've ever played in, Ross. So I am sure nothing bad will happen to you this time either. I mean, things worked out so well for Caleb in the mountains of Italy, and you did so well in that. You did so well in that Zeppelin.
Yeah, I mean, Well, at least my character's death was brief in that. I remember there's some other.
It was clean. It was
clean. Yeah. I didn't have my blood sucked out of me, so I got that going for it.
Hey, the Mountains of Italy worked out for me twice.
That's
just to let you know.
Twice.
I went through two characters.
Less so for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because you're a witch, Aaron. You're Albatro. Albatro.
The name lives on long.
It's true.
So yes, you guys are playing in King and Country, which oddly enough I think is actually the name of the propaganda rag that floats around the British trenches, printed up to keep up morale while they're censoring your mail and not telling you how things are going back home, or letting you talk to your fellows and other units around them. If you are in fact would be communicating with people in other units, yes, this is an age of intense government censorship. You get, even in the trenches, you get only an ant's eye view of the war. It's very difficult to know how things are really going. You guys have just completed, or rather, this unit that you're being sent to join. You guys are all playing replacements. You're being sent to join a unit, a 255th Battalion. They're part of the 1st Army. This is a King's Rifles unit, I believe, that was originally raised at Liverpool. But as time has gone by, fewer and fewer people from Liverpool are left in the unit. They have been filled in by others from other locations. The Battle of Passchendaele has just happened. The British decided that it would be bad for morale if they kept naming their battles the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th battles of blank, like Ypres. This is like the 3rd battle. That was like the 3rd battle of Ypres. All right. The British decided to call it Passchendaele. The 2nd Battle of Ypres was also known as the Somme. That was back in 1916. And that was, I believe, as they put it, and the Blackadder goes forth, a gargantuan effort to move Field Marshal Haig's drinks cabinet another yard closer to Berlin. The Somme was horrible. Passchendaele was horrible. There's about 500,000 casualties between killed, wounded, and captured on both sides combined, to literally gain 6 miles. Okay? That was the accomplishment of the Battle of Passchendaele. I will also point out, for those of you who played in or listened to Dig for Victory, Dig for Victory was part of an operation that was supposed to kick off Passchendaele by blowing a hole in the German lines. It did not work out so hot. It was the actual operation, blew a bunch of Germans, then the British sort of didn't take advantage of the situation, despite the fact they'd engineered it, and the Germans pushed them out of the craters they created in the landscape and just fortified the craters even more. So it was just brilliant. Lions led by donkeys, I think, is the saying about the World War I soldier. Field Marshal Haig did it again with Passchendaele, except this time he used tanks. And out of all those casualties, you guys are going to be coming into units that have seen a lot of combat. I will note, however, that some of you you're going in with a couple of veterans. Those are Corporal, let's see here, Corporal Saunders, who is the company grenadier, or the unit grenadier, and Private Baker, who is carrying the Lewis gun. These guys have been injured in previous battles and missed Passchendaele, probably saved their lives by missing it. And the date is December, I think I said 7th, 1917. And you are going to be moved, you are arriving in what is called the reserve trenches. The trench systems, as they are being constantly built, even as they fought this war to move the front 6 miles, all the armies immediately dug in and rebuilt their trenches. Sometimes the British captured German trenches and fortifications. Sometimes they just had to build them from scratch if they got into a section of line, or their line ended up in a spot where the Germans didn't have any trenches to capture. The trench system is set up so that there is a frontline trenches that is literally right on the edge of what you call no man's land, which is anywhere from less than 100 yards to a kilometer across, depending on the terrain that separates the two armies. Then there is a reserved. Then there is a secondary trench, which I do not believe is called the reserve trench. I'm suddenly forgetting the name of the secondary trenches, which just makes me look like a genius. Those are basically like reinforcement trenches. If there was a problem, the people in the middle trenches would move up to reinforce the folks in the first trench. These trench lines are filled. None of them are straight because they don't want people to shoot straight down a trench, so they're very zigzag, right? So your ability to see is limited to maybe 10 yards, not very much. That is down a trench. Then there are these long, straight trenches that connect the front trenches with the reserve, with the secondary trenches with the reserve trenches. The reserve trenches are the ones that are very far back. And you guys are actually coming into, I think, let me just check here, because I'm not 100% sure what part of the trenches you're going to be filling in, so I'll go up and check what I originally wrote. I think you're coming into the, let's see here. Oh, that's not right. Yeah, you guys are coming into the farthest trenches from the front. They're the sort of reserve trenches for the strategic reserve to plug gaps in the line. The reinforcement trenches are the ones in the middle, and then there's the front line trenches. You'll be moved from this. You guys just don't stay in the front line forever. That's just not how it works. You're moved out on like a 2-week schedule, going from trench to trench to trench, so that you're not burned out being in the front line trenches, which often they're the ones that have the casualties from snipers. They're the ones that get hit by trench raids. The whole of it is subjected to intermittent artillery fire. That's just the facts about the size of the artillery. And although not that much, artillery fire comes up when, there is some to keep you off balance, but there's also the effect of when artillery fire is incoming, the sky overhead is always filled with aircraft. They're always trying to spot the other guy's artillery. And when they spot the other guy's artillery, they then fire at that guy's artillery. Nothing gives away a position of artillery than firing a giant black powder cannon, to sling around downrange. So the artillery isn't just a constant barrage. Before big attacks, oh yeah, it becomes that insane world where you get days of nothing but nonstop, no break in the sound, shelling. At least that's what your veterans will tell you as you're going forward. You guys are probably meeting them somewhere in France before you are put on a train together. Private Baker and Corporal Sanders will answer your questions and things as you're moving forward through the reinforcement lines while you're going through train stations and things. They'll have been coming from England, where they were convalescing from injuries that they received earlier in the war. And as far as I can tell, they will take wounded people who are wounded. And, after this is the age before penicillin, after 6 months of recovery, they'll put them back in the fight. Even if it takes that long for these injuries to heal up, they will put people back in the fight unless you are permanently crippled. That's how it goes in World War I. There are $1 million wounds, but they're usually about getting shot in the hand or the foot. You can't handle your weapon. You can't march, right? But if you end up with a bunch of shrapnel and almost die of sepsis, but somehow recover, you're good to go, soldier, back into the line. As long as, they're not kicking you out for losing an eye anymore. So you're going to have to lose both before they'll send you home. So this sort of the first part of this scenario is you guys basically coming over from England, leaving Blighty where you've been trained, And, probably picking up, meeting up with these guys as you're given sort of a group pass, which the chaplain will be in charge of, as sort of the semi-highest ranking person in the group. Now, Aaron, since you are now playing Chaplain Erinmore, I will point out that you are referred to as a chaplain of the 4th class, of the 4th rank. Now, technically, that is the rank of captain, but you have absolutely no authority.
Kind of figured. So just
you'll note that you'll note the number of weapons you were given at the beginning of the scenario.
not a lot. So
in an anime, though, you would be the best. Though, like that's a badass.
And I would have
Chaplain
psychic
of the
powers,
4th
but
rank, you would have so many powers.
yeah, but we're here and I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Well, if it was anime, you'd have busty nuns with machine guns. So
Yeah, now you're just going to be a dead Catholic guy. But
We should probably introduce our characters.
Church of England.
Church of English. Sorry.
Remember, England is the king is the head of the church. You guys live in technically a theocratic constitutional monarchy. So there. But
my
yes,
bad,
please.
my bad. My intelligence is 10. Sorry.
Please introduce your characters who are going to the front with these two veterans who are not any older than you. Like, they're like 9 to 10 months older than you, these guys. They're not old. Yeah, the old man in the group is like probably Erinmore.
It is
31, right? Yeah.
31. Yeah, I'm ancient in comparison.
God, these fucking old people.
The two veterans are 22 and 21.
Damn.
So that tells you how young you guys are. Erinmore, you have. I will just point out that you have of the player characters. You will not be taking any sand losses from gore and blood on the grounds that you've been working in field hospitals behind the lines, and you have seen an excruciating amount of blood and gore.
Deep in its severed limbs at some point, I assume.
There's a whole graveyard filled with severed limbs. Yeah. They sometimes try and get the guy matched up with the limb if they later don't make it. No, they don't. That doesn't happen.
This is going to become the 5th company pile, unfortunately. So
yeah, basically.
War sounds terrible.
It's the best. As wars go, World War I is the worst war for the soldier, but it's not so bad for the civilians. World War II is the one where it starts super sucking for civilians because armies cross hundreds of miles and run right through everyone's living rooms. This Western Front thing, different on the Eastern Front, but this Western Front thing just stays there for 4 years until the Germans just run out of steam and collapse. But it doesn't go back and forth over, through people's living rooms and through houses and cities and stuff like that. It's just not that kind of conflict. But yes, please, Chaplain, Padre, introduce your character to the fine folks at RPPR.
Can do. This is Aaron of a regular role-playing Public Radio cast station. I will be playing Chaplain Colin Erinmore, as Mr. Glancy was so nicely say. He is a chaplain of the forces, 4th rank. And as stated before, he was just primarily in the battalion aid stations, helping out as what he could until he is being circulated back over into the reserve trenches that have been, emptied out for possibly no regular reasons, but we don't know. That being said, though, like I said, he is a man of God. He believes in, the Almighty, but he's beginning to wonder why this much carnage would be allowed at this level. So there has to be a possible plan, but the hell if he knows what it is.
It's hard to see at this scope, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
next.
But like you said, you only have the end.
Next.
All right. We'll just go in Discord order. So, hey, it's Russ Payton, and I am playing Private Eddie Howell, who is 19 years old, and he just completed basic training. And I wasn't a volunteer, but I signed up for conscription on my 18th birthday, just like I was supposed to. I'm a stalwart believer in the Church of England, and I've read and heard plenty of stories of men saved from bullets and shrapnel by a well-placed Bible. He credits these stories and is sure that keeping his faith will keep him in God's grace and keep him safe. He considers it a good sign that he and his fellow recruits have arrived with a padre in tow. So you got my back there, Chaplain. Everything's going to be fine. We got the power of
Sure.
The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah, the power of anime and Jesus. I mean, the power of my gun and Jesus. Yeah.
You know, anime Jesus is going to be ripped.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
And a little femme.
It's
Just
very
saying.
beautiful, like Dio.
Beautiful.
And,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Nothing like Dio.
Of course, we had to bring him.
We already have anime GS.
Yeah.
It's Dio. Yeah.
He died.
Came back
first.
from the
Kind of a
dead.
jerk, though.
He did more than once, probably.
Next.
Yeah. Hi, guys. It's me. I'm V. I'm back again. Sorry if you don't like that. There's nothing you can do. You're stuck here listening to my voice. I am playing Private Andy Miller. I am part of the infantry. I am a rifleman and fresh out of training, and I hate everything about this. I did not volunteer for this. I was drafted as soon as I turned 18. Some people call me a coward, but I'm not a coward. I'm a realist. I have seen the crippled guys who come back from the front and the funerals of those who did not. I don't take chances, especially for people I don't know. And being thrown into this whole thing as a replacement, that makes me feel completely and utterly isolated. My goal here is just to survive. Talking to people, trying to find anything that'll give me an angle to get me out of to keep me alive and get me out of this in one piece. So that's the goal.
All right, and I am going to curiously be playing the pre-gen named Private Paul Stokes. I am, of course, Caleb Stokes, and I write for Delta Green. And I feel a little insulted that he has con 17 but int 10. Thank you again, Mr. Glancy. I see you there. Subtle, sir. Subtle.
All I had to do was reverse the stats.
I'm just kidding. I kind of like he's a himbo machine gunner. He's not full machine gunner yet. He hasn't graduated. More of a machine gun intern. He fills Pan magazines and gets yelled at to run faster, but everyone's got to do their part, and he's just there to help God and country. So
we love a himbo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, that's fairly accurate. Yes, you are the assistant Lewis gun operator, which means you are carrying you and also your, Baker, Private Baker is also carrying giant pans of 47 round Pan magazines across no man's land as well. Hopefully you won't be doing nearly that much of this. It is, like I said, December 7th, and it's how do I put this? It's cold and nasty out. And despite the fact that armies now have enormous quantities of canned food and industrialized food preserving, this is still, thus making 365 campaign season. Still, the winter is not a time necessarily for going on the offensive, simply because food supplies are shorter. It's always struck me as weird with the mud out here in Flanders, Belgium, but the one time it would seem like the perfect time to use tanks in this environment is when the ground is frozen solid, but the British never buy a vowel and solve that puzzle for some reason. They keep doing the assaults in like the spring when it's all thawing out, or the summer when it's raining, or, I guess they kind of got the right idea in doing it in the fall with Passchendaele. I will point out that battle goes from something like the middle of October. I mean, it's like 7 weeks of battle. It's not like, we had a battle for a few days. Now, World War I has insane battles like Verdun, which take place over 3 months and kill 1 million people.
It's bound to wind down by the time we get there. Don't worry.
For Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been saying that
or
since
at least Boxing Day.
1914. Yeah, they've been saying that since 1914. But so far, no good. The Russians are out of the war, as they have just collapsed into revolution and chaos, and the Americans are in the war, as their first people have been showing up in France for the better part of the middle of this year. But they're all rawer than you and are still training in France before they're deployed into the lines. It is hoped that after Passchendaele, after the brutality of this particular campaign, both sides are exhausted enough to spare you all another big push or a counteroffensive until a little further on. Perhaps the spring of 1918 would be a good time to do something like that. I'm sure that but that's a 1918 problem. You guys are living in 1917, all right? So what you're facing is a cold, nasty winter out on the front lines. And that was wrong. I got that backwards. Or it was the trenches you spend. I think it's 4 days in each trench line. And what you do is you start off in the reserve trench, you move up to the support trench, and then finally you're in the front line trenches. And that way, when you're taken out, you go from the front line all the way back to the reserve, which is, quieter. And something else I want to point out, when it comes to these trenches, and you hear about there's, an army in this section of trench, and there's 6 divisions in this army. There might be a division held in reserve, but the 5 divisions that are up in the front lines, they're not in there with one division spread across the front and a second spread across behind it, and the third. They're lined up very narrow. All right? So each division has a very small piece of the front. So they're all lined up stacked next to each other, going deep. This, again, is to ensure that you constantly have a rotation of troops coming into those front trenches and then coming out, so that you don't have people getting exhausted. It's something you don't see a lot in the films, showing, the time out of the front trenches. They sort of give this impression that once you're in the front trenches, you're just marooned there until you die. That is not the case there, which means that when it comes to billets, where you guys are going to be in, you're going to essentially be moving into a billet that was just evacuated by another group of men. All right? So when you guys are brought in...
Sure, they took good care of it.
Well, there's always the problem of handing it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's your sergeants who are supposed to make sure that they take good care of it. And they're not too bad at this point. Sure, it might have cost, 500,000 casualties, but the good news is that the British lines in your sector have moved far enough forward that the drainage doesn't all leak down into your trenches. There was a period early in the war around Ypres where the Germans had the high ground, the British had the low ground. All the rain and everything would just flow downhill. So the German trenches were dry, nobody got trench foot, and the British were walking around in, knee-deep water in their trenches. And you know how you get that out, don't you? Oh, you throw it over the edge of the trench, which just soaks it back into the ground, that then trickles eventually down, that fills your trench again, right? So it's not great. Trench foot is still a thing. I recommend that nobody Google trench foot casualty to basically, and to make sure you understand what I'm talking about, it is gangrene of the feet. It is your feet are wet for so long that your skin softens the way it does in a bathtub. But, you get out of the tub when your feet get wrinkly. Oh, imagine you have your feet wet for days at a time, walking around until it rubs the skin off of your feet. And then you're walking around in trench water. And I've explained it in other people's scenarios that this Western Front, and you guys will get into this. The Western Front is millions of men outdoors taking a shit and taking a piss. All right? So this place smells. Even before you get to the dead, the unburied dead, this place reeks. Sure, there are latrines in the back, of the lines that are actually slit trench latrines. But up here, people are filling jugs and buckets and throwing them over the side of the trench. I mean, that's how you're getting rid of it. All right. The result is that the water that gets down to your trench, it's very often contaminated. That mud out there in no man's land is very often contaminated by a combination of human urine and human waste and wasted humans. People blown into so much mist, blood mixed into the soil. So when you go out there for a battle and you're crawling on your belly in the mud, that's what you're crawling through. And then when a piece of hot metal comes by, like a bullet or a piece of shrapnel, it grabs that mud-soaked piece of uniform and pushes it into the bullet hole. So infections in the age before penicillin kill. That's most battlefield casualties. That's why when they talk about wounded, they're talking about the guys that survived being wounded. Plenty of people do not make it in this era because sepsis is a thing. And there's a lot of amputations to get rid of gangrene. And trench foot is one of those things that causes gangrene, causes infections. And it will rot feet to the bone.
Jesus.
All right. Now, since they figured out that this was a thing, because they never had armies sitting still in a battles like this ever in human history, save for a few sieges, they suddenly realized, okay, we're gonna have to see to this, and changed a lot of the ways that they do things. Foot powder is a thing to dry your feet. Every soldier's issued with that. One of the things your sergeants are always going to want to see is your feet. Take your boots off, take your puttees off. Your puttees are these wraps that go up. You'll see some of those pictures I sent. Soldiers don't wear low or high boots going up to the middle of their calves. Germans started off with those big, tall boots, but even they ran out of leather. It takes less leather to make a shoe than it makes a boot. And then they wrap their feet rather than have socks. They have these wraps that go around your feet all the way up to the top. It's easier to make than a sock. And wrapping and unwrapping your feet becomes as important as knowing when to duck from an artillery shell. There's a lot of skills that come into the trench warfare that you guys are going to try and learn while you're here before anything else happens. I mean, certainly the other soldiers like Baker and Sanders will be more than happy to tell you what they know as you guys are being transported together. The one of the things that's going to turn up on the way is, let's go ahead and everybody just make me a luck roll and tell me who gets the highest.
Now for
the lowest.
Okay, I got a 30.
I got a 13.
56.
Ooh.
41. It's all you, me.
All right. Well, in that case, Private Andy Miller, one of those that you're going to notice on the way is that one of your guys, Sanders, the corporal, actually is wearing something on his neck you would have spotted at some point. Usually you're buttoned up. The top button of your blouse, which is what they call the military shirts are called blouses. I mean, that's just one of those things that's stuck. He's got a necklace with stuff on it. There's like glass. Go ahead and make me a spot hidden roll, please. Spot hidden.
That is a 24 under 45.
Okay. He's got a glass sort of a bead or ball that has some sort of plant in it. You can see some sort of like plant in it. He's got a little figure. There's like a little like human figure on the end of this chain that seems to be holding out a thumbs up, not unlike the Fallout Boy character from the Fallout games. He's just got this weird little thumbs up sticking out. When we come to a train station, this is because one of the train stations stop at these French kids start coming out and they start lifting things to the windows of the train while the train is being refilled or people coming off. And the French kids are saying, bon chance, bon chance. And does anybody speak French?
I do.
Good luck. They're saying good luck.
Okay.
They're trying to sell, and they're selling things like rabbit's feet and other charms. And you'll see Saunders, the corporal, buy a rabbit's foot charm and add it to his necklace, which also, I should point out, includes a strange four-armed, weird, sort of silvery or maybe tin. It's shiny, so maybe it's aluminum or something. It's probably not silver, but it's a four-armed, twisted sigil of some sort that he's got on there as well. Go ahead and give me a roll under your nose and see if you recognize it at all.
Then all this is just me.
Everybody.
Okay. Is my knowledge? I know a lot of things. For being a 19. Well, of course, I'm 19. I know everything.
Yeah, that's a 47 under 80.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah,
me as
52 under 115. So
What'd you roll?
52 under 115.
Next.
I got 19, and it's from knowledge, right?
Yeah, under knowledge.
Yeah, under 85, yeah.
And you, Mr. Payton?
46 under 80.
Okay. So, sadly, Private Miller and Private Howell do not recognize this, but Private Stokes and the Chaplain do. It's a swastika. Yeah, it's an Indian symbol. It's an Indian pagan symbol. And you'll note that the other baker also buys a rabbit's foot off some of these kids and comments that, the rabbit's feet are new. They didn't start selling rabbit's feet until the Americans showed up. That was their thing. But Baker, not only does he have a rabbit's foot, he has a horseshoe, small metal horseshoe on his chain, and he has the number 13 in a circle. And a pressed piece of metal that looks like it could be shaped like a four-leaf clover. And Corporal Saunders will say something to the effect of, to those of you who have just arrived for the party, that, while this is a place where, at the front lines is a place where doing anything, including doing nothing, can get you killed, where too much of this comes down to luck. Sometimes a little luck isn't a bad thing if you can buy it. And if it works, well, then I guess it works. If it doesn't work, what was I going to spend the money on anyways? And they're only giving these kids pennies for this stuff. It's not like they're throwing down a pound or something. I think this is still the age where they haven't done the thing where they turned a pound into 100 pence. It's still 266 pence for a pound.
God.
Just a halfpenny for an orphan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the British pound is still insane at this point. But yes, they just threw a few pence down, and these kids are selling them rabbits. They're probably rabbits from hutches where people are raising rabbits for food, and the one thing you're not going to eat are the feet. So
I will
sell their garbage.
I'll buy something because I don't want my machine gunners that are my bosses to yell at me more. So I'm going to emulate their behavior, as I learned in job interviews, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. What would you like to buy? Because, again, there's anything from rabbit's feet to small, sometimes stamped metal.
I'll let you give me whatever you want, because I'm going to be panically buying something to make myself appear presentable. So it will be literally the closest child to me.
Just become Benny from the Mummy. Yeah. Get everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I need all the luck. The American luck. The Scottish.
Okay.
I don't need luck. I have the Lord. Right, Father?
Rolling my eyes as some other child is trying to do it, but I do pull up the cross on mine and just donate a couple of, pence out to them as I can.
Oh, yeah, yes. Here, have some charity, kids. Yeah, yes. But I don't need your pagan symbols.
Very good.
Give him a scathing look.
In that case, you end up picking up, let's see, a weird little charm that has two little children on it. It's basically like a little charm made out of clay or something, baked clay, with a place in it to put a piece of thread or perhaps the chain on your identity disc. I mean, they have dog tags, so to speak. They're called identity discs. They go around your neck on a chain. If you're killed, they snap the disc in half and take one half of it to note that you are gone and leave the rest of the body for identification purposes. Basically, it's a little French. One of your, Saunders will say, that is, let's see, Tintin and so what's the other one? I'm
imagining the captain on the other side. They're both hanging out.
Yes, it's. I should look that up a little bit better. It's Tintin and Doodle, I think it's called, and it's supposedly a pair of orphans that if you gave them alms in from French folklore, they would grant you would get good luck for having given charity to these orphans. And yeah,
it's a good one, right, Corporal? That'll keep me safe.
It's Nanette, and get this, it's Renette and Rin Tin Tin.
Ooh,
if you're thinking Rin Tin Tin, isn't that the name of the dog from the silent movies? Yes. An American who brought back a couple of German shepherds from Europe, from the European War, named the dogs Nanette and Rin Tin Tin, and the Nanette dog passed away, but Rin Tin Tin ended up in movies. So there's your other weird piece of history. So Nanette and Rin Tin Tin are like it's a pair of like little child figures that supposedly will, if you give them, if the original myth is that you give them alms and you get good luck. So if you don't give them, you get bad luck. It's a little bit like the gentry or the fairies in Ireland and England,
right.
Something like that. The orphans always stay the same, no matter what age they're discovered in, which would creep me the fuck out. But Nanette and Rin Tin Tin are the figures that you end up getting. You also get a little weird figure, which is sort of a piece of wood that's been sort of carved into sort of a flat coin shape, which Saunders calls a touchwood. Knockwood. It's a touchwood. It's another alleged good luck charm. But you'll see people.
I'm covered. Fuck you guys, but I'm safe. I'm good.
There's people like selling stuff like that all along the route to the front, and selling other things. There's going to be people trying to sell bottles of wine and stuff to the troops as they're going by. This is the age of the rum ration. So on the plus side, there's army rum that's issued with every day's food and meal and drink. So you will get booze at the front. So good luck there. Fortunately, it's priced out by the lowest bidder, so you can imagine what kind of rum it is.
I will go over to Miller and offer them one of my Lucky Charms in exchange for their rum ration.
No.
I let Private Miller answer that.
No. What about you, Private Miller? Do you accept this offer?
Oh gosh. So I've been
this
trying
is
to
Ren
decide.
Tinny and Nadine, and they're both French kids that give good luck. All right, you're gonna need this.
I thought it was Nanette.
I wasn't listening that closely, but
great. This makes me feel really, really good about this. Yeah, sure, fine, whatever. And I'll agree to that.
Easily bullied into giving up.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy a bottle of wine if I can. Like, we need that sacramental wine. For services. Yeah.
I'm just sitting there with my bag right now. It's like, what? No.
It's okay, Father. In case you can't get yours, I'll pack up.
It's not needed for certain last rights, whatever.
Yeah.
Corporal Saunders is like, oh no, I highly encourage you to buy that wine. I'll be confiscating it as contraband.
Hey,
free wine for me.
I will not buy the wine if he's going to confiscate it.
And analyze it. Confiscate and analyze it.
Thoroughly.
If you buy it, he literally confiscates it and says, oh, this is contraband. You're going to have to dispose of this. And then he says, everybody get out your cups. And he just poured wine into everybody's cups.
All right. I'm going to take...
Until you've bought everyone a drink. So
okay, well, I learned my lesson. Be a little less obvious when buying booze.
It's the company bar
Steal
tab.
the rum from your fellow soldiers with charming Lucky Charm scams.
Is that were you charming, or was it just?
I would literally gave you a charm. It's the definition of charm. It's in the name. All right.
Is that true? I don't think that's true. Pretty sure. I'm not a wordologist here, but I'm pretty sure.
Wordologist.
I am literally a master of English. They gave me a piece of paper. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Stokes, stop bullying Miller.
It's okay.
You got me beat.
Yeah, we all have information. Yeah.
All right. So you folks end up being brought forward and eventually trains stop being trains and turn into trucks, although they probably turned into trucks later than you'd imagine. That's because they built rail lines. Because the war didn't move around a lot, they built rail lines to service the front. Both sides put down miniature tracks with the kind of engines that you would see in a mining car, sort of, to pull supplies closer to the front. They lay down new track over old territory. But at some point, yes, it turns into trucks to move you forward. And I sent you guys those pictures of the battlefield of Passchendaele. That's what you're passing through. All right? You're passing through absolutely 100% the desolation of smog. I mean, it's the fucking surface of the moon. All right? And at some point, you can see where they're still trying to build roads through this stuff. I mean, when I showed that picture of Passchendaele where it shows the village before the battle, and then the only sign that there was a village there is there's a kind of area that looks like the memory of where a road used to be going through the village, while the rest of it is just craters. Yeah, that's how the roads are starting to look. At some point, things are getting more organized. You're passing gigantic batteries of huge 14-inch howitzers, these insane British guns that they put down in these firing carriages that simply do not move. I mean, there's no wheels on these cannons. You put them down, and then they just have to put enormous. They fill up these sort of counterweights on the cannons so that when they fire them, they don't flip over backwards from the goddamn recoil on some of these monstrosities. They're the guns for which you are the meat, as the saying goes. And as you get closer to the front, you start to smell it. As I said, it has an open sewer smell. Now, some of what you're passing through is also going to smell like it's going to smell like a slaughterhouse. All right? The weird thing is where you're going to starts to smell less like a slaughterhouse. All this area you're going through is where people got aerosolized by artillery, right? Where people literally got blown into just, particulate, where bodies were lost in the mud, lost in the craters, lost in the water at the bottom of the craters. At this point, everything's starting to get a fine dusting of snow, and some of the water in the bottom of those craters is filling over with ice, which will be really fun to break through, and then you get to find out just how deep it is. And all that mud out there is filled with bullets and shrapnel and bone shards and perforated helmets and fragments of rifles. It's genuine nightmare country as you're going through it. Seeing it for the first time is worth a sand roll or lose one sand. So your introduction is literally like, this is nothing that has ever existed on Earth before, or frankly since.
I rolled a 69, so nice.
Nice.
Missed it by one.
All right, well, you've seen enough gore that this is not that big of... Well, all right, take the one, nevertheless. Everyone takes one if you've missed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a shock to the system that this is this battlefield's only a couple of weeks old at this point. And you are passing old German entrenchments, old British entrenchments, a lot of which have been abandoned because the British have moved forward. You're also passing, I showed you that picture of the forest. It was just short trunks, maybe.
The X forest, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a bunch of sticks stuck in the ground. And just these trunks that have been completely denuded of any kind of branch and then sort of sheared off midway up so that whatever height they had, that's gone now. And at some point the trucks run out, and it's about getting off and walking across plank bridges. Now the good news is because this is not being stirred anymore by artillery shells and people running through it, it's starting to firm up. It's starting to firm up as the temperatures have dropped or dropping. temperature outside is in the mid-30s. It's not quite freezing, but it was freezing overnight. And so you've got this thing where it firms up and softens during the day, and then it gets harder again at night. So plank walkways are still kind of necessary to get over some of the areas of mud. And as you're moving forward, these plank walkways are crisscrossing certain sections of the mud, and you'll be walking across those in file. The chaplain, of course, will have basically the pass and the orders telling you where you're going. And it's just simply a matter of you hand it off to anyone who's at the guard, and they can basically, hopefully, direct you in the direction of the 255 Battalion and of the King's Rifles Brigade. It's that simple. You find the brigade directs you to the battalion will direct you to your company that you're reporting to. It is a boring and tedious process. Once you get off the actual land, you start getting into the trenches. It's about walking down into the trenches. All right? These trenches are still being vigorously dug. You can see a lot of activity as guys are digging out the dugouts. Dugouts are still being built, is what I'm saying. It's because, again, the battle is just wound down. A dugout is a bunker that multiple men can hide in a trench that will keep them safe from artillery rounds coming directly down into a trench. The whole point of the trench is to put you below the level that shrapnel is going to be flying if a shell explodes on the ground. Now, both sides have artillery shells that explode in midair and spray shrapnel down on top of people, and that's why, starting in, 1915, 1916, everybody gave up on their stupid cloth caps, all right? British had these caps that look like a policeman's peaked cap on their soldiers. The Germans have that leather cap. It's not a helmet. The Pickelhaube with the spike on it, not really a helmet. It's made out of leather, right? Only the ones on officers are actually made out of leather. Germans would say the spike for some reason was removable. I don't know why it was removable, but at some point they would remove them in general, just because if you're sticking your head up behind a trench, the spike would come first and tell somebody where to aim the gun. And the Germans quickly went, well, screw that. It goes, it's in a pocket, or I lost it, sir, or whatever, it just went away. But those were leather too, and the French wore the kepi, which is sort of a cap that looks very much like the hats that we wore in the Civil War, right? 1916 forward, everybody's in a helmet. The French have the Adrian helmet. The Germans have the Stahlhelm, which is that classic helmet that they wear in World War II, and now everybody wears something that looks like a Stahlhelm because it was just a great design that kept the shrapnel off the back of your neck. And then the British have the classic Tommy pot, right, which is just this helmet with this brim. And the whole point of these helmets is not to stop a bullet from blowing your brains out. That's not what they do. Bullets go right through them. This was to stop that artillery shrapnel from coming down into your skull, right, when a shell burst above you. I cannot emphasize how awful it was those first years of the war. You'd be in your trench and boom, that trench is full of shrapnel, and you're taking the hits in the worst possible place you could take it, your head. All right, so now everybody's got their Tommy pots on. Everybody. Officers wear them. Everybody wears them on. Everybody's got a helmet. And so do you. And you guys have great gas masks, too, I want to point out. This is not like 1915 with the Germans introduced chlorine gas, and the advice at the time was take your scarf and pee into it and then wrap it around your face. That was the first plan for chlorine gas. I cannot underemphasize how poorly that worked.
Don't know why they want to do the jellyfish defense on it.
Yeah. So now everybody's got gas masks, even you, Padre. Now, I haven't listed one. That is a foul error. Everybody gets a box respirator and a lovely gas mask. They're quite effective. So, except for mustard gas, and I won't get into that. Mustard gas will burn your skin. It's evaporated acid. It's just a cloud of acid. And while the gas mask keeps it from blinding you and getting your lungs and giving you blisters on the insides of your lungs until you die, it won't help getting it on your body. You're just stuck with it. So you get closest and you get down into the trenches. And like I said, there's 3 sets of trenches. There is the support, there's the frontline trench, the support in the middle, and then the reserve trenches. And there are a few things there are a few different things that are in each trenches. There's some light artillery in the support trench that sort of isn't part of your unit, but are mortar batteries that are that close to the front because mortars just don't really fling their rounds that far, not like the artillery behind you that is. I mean, once you get into the trenches, these things are much like Ross Payton has behind him there. They consume a vast quantity of wood. Somewhere behind you are literally Chinese and Vietnamese workers. Chinese brought over because they're allies in World War I, and Vietnamese because the French are colonial douchebags. There are these Chinese and Vietnamese workers in the backfields of France cutting down all the damn forests to supply the wood that is needed for constructing these trenches. I know we've all seen sandbags, and those are a thing, and those only really go at the top. But most of these trenches, the walls are held up with wooden planks and, wooden braces. That wood you see those beams that go over the top, sometimes that's used to hang camouflage curtain. So the trench will hopefully be a little less obvious from the air. But that's what you're getting into. The dugouts around Ypres from last year, they're like the Paris metro. They're huge and vast and multi-layers and just gigantic, okay? These new trenches are not. These new trenches are not nearly as well developed because these guys have just started putting them down, okay? And it's going to get worse towards the front. Chaplin, you keep getting, Company A is this way. You should see, I think it's Captain Hutton is the person you're supposed to go to. Let me double check that. He says, working on his map and his battalion organization. And there we go. Yes, I guess you are, in fact, going to see Captain Frank Hutton. All right. At some point, you're down in these trenches, and like I say, they're still being dug and put together and organized. You start moving up into the area that is the 250th Battalion's sector. And the first thing that strikes you about it is that the activity dies off. It's not quite the buzz of activity. The battle, literally, though, today was the last day of offensive operations. Although in a sector far to your south, it wasn't fighting in your sector. It was far to the south, sort of directly in front of Ypres and closer to the village of Passchendaele. You guys are in a sector that is farther to the north and is basically, you've got a little sort of a village behind you called Veldhoek. The thing about this area of Belgium is that it's mostly Dutch. This is that whole Walloons versus Flemish thing where Belgium is made up of Dutch and Frenchmen, and it was a weird creation by the Napoleonic Wars, and most everyone was unhappy about it, and still are. But you're in the Flemish-speaking areas right now of Belgium, closer to the Netherlands, who are neutral in this war. If you ever decide you want to go over the top and escape to a neutral country, that's where you would do your defecting to. And anyways, the Veldhoek is sort of to your rear. The village is evacuated. There's nobody there but military personnel, and there's not much there in the way of buildings. It is literally like somebody had to mention, well, that was the village of Veldhoek, and you guys are like, what, those piles of rocks? Yes, that was the village. Okay? This ground was fought over. In front of you, now as you're getting up to this area, this area has the fugly trees. The fugly trees are in evidence around here because you guys are at the edge of a forest called Dulfust. That is the name of the forest. It goes right up to you're in an area where technically you're inside the forest. The section you're in, and all through no man's land, yeah, branches are a thing of the past. But it's this weird environment of just these cylindrical sentinels out there. Now, you know that because the trenches are going through this, and as you look up, you can see the trees that literally are dead. They've had all the bark blasted off of them by concussion. So they're just this bare wood sticking up, stained with mud, blood, whatever else. They're all darkened by the cordite that's been detonated near them and whatnot. And you can presume that it just keeps going like this, deeper into this forest. This forest, somewhere in there, is a little creek called the Koverbeek. The Koverbeek is just a little, small creek. It's not really a river, but it's a fresh water source. And it runs along out Allied-controlled territory, or rather, it runs from German-controlled territory into Allied-controlled territory. It doesn't flow through your sector, but if you went straight ahead across no man's land, you'd run into it. They're constantly testing the water in case the dirty Hun put poison in it, but apparently even Jerry hasn't sunk that low to poison the water of the creek, to poison people downstream. Although maybe you shouldn't drink out of it, considering all the things that have exploded and died in this particular area where all the runoff is going. Might have a problem there. I'd boil that first. I'm not sure boiling it will do anything about the burned cordite or heavy metals or whatever else it's contaminated with. As I said, this place smells like poo. You definitely get the latrine smell out here. However, what you don't get nearly so much of is the stench of the dead. That is because there were some attempts there before you guys arrived here. There were already ceasefires and things to clear the dead and wounded out of no man's land. And as much as that can be done, it was done. However, at the same time, plenty was missed, so it's not as bad as it could be. And your two veterans will basically say, oh yeah, this is actually quite nice. But they don't like the trees. Like, oh, those trees are those trees have got to go. We need to cut those down somehow. And if anyone asks why, well, Germans will sneak up on you behind those trees. If those are all out, and it's like that all out in no man's land, we're going to have trench raids every night. They're going to become able to get right up on our position. So, they're probably got guys out there. They probably get the engineers out there at night to saw those trees down in the dark. You wouldn't do that shit at night, and you wouldn't saw them down during the nighttime either in no man's land, because that'll just draw a flare, machine gun fire. Now, what you do is you have the sappers go out there and pack the tree with explosives and just blow it up, so nobody can use it for cover. This is, again, welcome to your new world. This section of trench you get into, this reserve trench, appears to be actually well put together. It's not in a process of being built. It seems like it is a finished project. There is a wooden floor that's been put down, and underneath it is actually a drainage ditch to catch all the runoff. All right? Where that runoff is going, I'm not sure, but they do have hand pumps, and they will, because it's the Army, and they'd rather pay you, or you're already getting the same amount of pay no matter what. They'd rather have you hand work a pump to pump the water out of your trench than ever put in a generator powered, pump. That's not a thing. All right. You're not going to get any electrics. For those of you who are doing Dig to Victory, you guys were covered with electrical lights underground because the electrical lights didn't burn up your oxygen. But up here, no. This is the land of candles and lamps. All right. The guys start passing you along. Oh no, Captain's dugout is this way. Where's Captain Hutton? At some point, Chaplain Erinmore, you are introduced to a Captain Hutton. And Captain Hutton comes popping out of his dugout, donning his Brody helmet. I think that's what the Americans call them. As he comes out and salutes you to back. And who are you and who might you be? Replacements?
Yes, sir. Orders and hand them over. Chaplain Erinmore and company. So, and starts parsing out all the other names. So,
all right. Right then. Come with me. I'll introduce you to the battalion commander. And he starts walking down the trench on his way. And let's see. Everyone go ahead and give me a spot hidden roll.
12. I think that makes
84.
29 made it.
Yes, I make it.
I did as well.
All right.
I did not.
The only person who misses it, unfortunately, is poor Private Miller. The guy who just...
Not fortified by rum.
Oh my god.
The problem. Harms the eyes.
So, as you're going along, there are in this area of the trenches, there are not like observation posts to look out over no. There are a few sandbag positions. None of them have machine guns set up on them because they're kind of too far from the front. But you can sort of see where possibly they've built this platform that sticks out from the trench. So there's a flush wall of the trench, then out into the next area of dirt in front of the trench is sort of a platform where someone can take a step up and then, by kneeling down, still be below the edge of the top of the trench, right? The trench is deep enough so that your heads are not sticking out. Well, Chamberlain would be a headshot here, but all of you guys, except for maybe the chaplain, were raised on 19th century vigils and child rearing. And the thing that shocked me about this is how much shorter the lower classes are than the upper classes in England. It's like they're two different species, and it's all about who had access to red meat and milk. It's just one of those deals. So your trench is probably short enough so that maybe 7 feet, So you're not going to get your head sheared off by a sniper, even out here. And like I said, off to either side, there are these little doorways that are usually covered with canvas that are dugouts. This is where soldiers are going to be sleeping on cots and whatnot. The only thing they're going to have is the contents of their kit bag, which they're going to move from dugout to dugout as they change posting, moving up to take possession of a new section of trench. But anyways, you probably see a few guys reading a copy of the Ypres Times, which is a locally printed in the trenches, because they salvaged a big old print machine from a destroyed newspaper in Ypres. But the British call it Wiper because that's how it's spelled. It's Ypres, Wiper. The Ypres Times is the locally produced British. It's like the Punch magazine of the trenches. It instead of King and Country is more absorbent. Because the paper quality is better. But for an actual read, the boys prefer the Ypres Times because it talks about the absurdity of trench life and the muck and the mire and the dumbness that's around them. And the British gave up trying to ban it for being banned for morale because, gee, go figure, it was the only thing telling them the truth about how shitty it was out here. But like I said, King and Country, much more absorbent. No chance of splinters. Much better for trees. In any case, you continue through this maze. The three of you made your spot hidden walls. Mm-hmm. Sitting up on one of these little observation decks, there's a fellow looking out over the top, and it's a covered observation deck. Like the top of it has sandbags on the top of it, as well as on the side, so it's a little taller than the rest of the trench line. But there's a fellow sitting up there in his kit with his Brody on, holding his Lee Enfield, sort of in both hands while he's looking out over the trench line. And as you guys come by, he turns his head and looks down, and he's wearing his gas mask. And he's got this big round glass eyes and this featureless face with this weird hose that comes out where his mouth and nose should be, and the nose, not nose, the tube from the gas mask to the filter sort of snakes down over his uniform and disappears into a pouch. But as you're going by, he turns his head and watches quietly as you go by. It's just weird.
Actually, it's the captain still escorting us to our positions. Just ask him out of curiosity, like, sir, not out of disrespect, but have the men been expecting gas attacks anytime soon? I hadn't heard anything on report.
No, we haven't seen gas in a couple of weeks.
Oh, is that poor fellow up there suffering from shock? Or
he looks up. He stops. He looks up. He goes, "Oh yes, yes. That's let's see here, Worcester. Yes, that fellow gotten a bit, shall we say, overcautious about gas. So far, hasn't seemed to cause any other problems. But as long as his sergeant inspects him, make sure he's not letting that mask rub the back of his scalp raw or anything, I think he's going to be fine."
No. He might be first on my list then, too, when I start making the rounds to the boys.
I'm sure it will be most appreciated, Padre. And then he keeps going. Now, he finally comes down to a dugout. And in this dugout, there's actually a guard posted out front who's standing with a rifle with a bayonet on it, which is not common. Nobody's walking around with their bayonets on because, trip, ouch, you said it yourself, V, you poke your eye out. So he's standing there and he challenges Captain Hutton in this sort of strangely formal way and says something like, declare yourself before the King's Guard. And Captain Hutton kind of goes, "Here you go, privates." And it just sort of sighs. And the guy looks at the papers and snaps this salute and does a turn out of the way of the doorway for the bunker that is almost like something you'd expect out of the honor guard stepping around, Buckingham. He does this high step, snap the shoe down, and quick turn and steps aside, and then gets into a position and puts one hand behind his back and the other hand on the top of the rifle, like this. So he's still blocking the door, and then he moves the rifle away from the door. Captain sort of looks at you and goes, "Follow me, gentlemen." And he goes down into the bunker. The bunker is immediately warmer than the outside world. There are candles down here behind, usually with glass reflectors. There's sort of these open lamps that have like a little reflector and a pewter or whatever, tin probably, thing to hold. There's a table, big table, with a map on it of the sector. Down here there is a radio, basically a switching board for a telephone down here. There's and now there's a enlisted man with the headphones on who's switching calls and then writes something down as a call comes in. Standing around the table are some officers, hats off. The captain removes his brody, holds it under his arm, looks at the rest of you, moves his head.
Yeah, I will do my salutes and introduce myself and orders.
Caps off.
Right, yeah, I take my helmet off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, they stand there quietly while they're doing the whatnot, around the table. And now in this room, you can see that there is a wood floor that's been laid down over the mud or dirt that's been taken out of here. And there are wood walls that are, raw planks, right? Nothing's been sanded, you know what I mean? It's just, rough cut lumber that's down here. Also in the ceiling, lamp hanging from a hook over the table with, the map on it. Like I said, several officers around this thing. There appears to be a side room off of this. you're there for a few minutes. You're there for a few minutes of quiet, and at some point, you can hear some murmuring going on over there. Does anyone want to eavesdrop on what's being said?
Oh, absolutely. I look, especially if, you never know what people are talking about, and if there's any extra little edge that I can get, I'm gonna listen in.
Okay, go ahead and make a listen roll.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. That is a 28. But darn it, over 25. I don't make it.
Since 25. Let me just check that. That seems a bit low.
Yeah.
And you're playing Miller, right?
Yes.
All right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't read. That's library use. Listen is 55, so I made it. Go me.
Go you. All right, that seems about right. Okay, so the major appears to be discussing things like, about what we just sort of like how many days left to the rotation to support, moving up. We'll be moving up, the support trenches day after tomorrow, sir. What's the situation in the forward trenches? Still we're way ahead of schedule. And they're talking about German activity, light artillery barrage. Light artillery doesn't seem to be bothering our sector nearly as much as the folks north and south, east and west of us in the sector. Now it's bad, and then he says something which is bad luck for 125th Battalion over there. Captain Hutton. Hutton salutes, and this fella comes over. Hutton is young. Hutton is maybe in his late 20s, maybe. But, Passchendaele will age a fella. He could be anywhere from 25 to 35, the way shit's been going out here. Now, the fellow who comes over and begins speaking, I presume everyone salutes appropriately?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not here by choice, but I'm not dumb enough to not follow the rules. So
okay, gentlemen, I am Simon Crafton, Major Crafton. I will just Major Crafton. His first name. I'm Major Crafton. Well, immediate commanding officer of Captain Hutton. I am in charge of the 255th Battalion. Welcome to France, and welcome back to France for you two fellows. You've lucked out. You've arrived at a particularly calm time in the front lines. We gave Jerry quite the thrashing over the last few weeks. They're in no shape to launch anything like a counteroffensive, and so both sides are hunkering down to consolidate our gains and for Jerry to lick his wounds. I think you'll find that this sector is unusually quiet, which I will simply give thanks for. Sometimes our luck is with us. Now, before Captain Hutton sends you out your assignments, I did want to give you the opportunity for a welcome toast. We may not see each other again quite a while, but I did want to introduce myself personally, get your names, and drink a toast to the king. So he says, he's like, Hensley? And this, private comes out, pour me glasses for everyone. And yes, including stims on the radio set. And yes, sir, he goes out and starts collecting things to drink out of. And he starts going down one at a time and just getting your particulars. He just basically does this sort of, and where are you from, son? I'm from Cornwall, never heard of it, or whatever. He does that sort of, I can do my salute to Donald Sutherland in the Dirty Dozen. No, he doesn't do that. He's all very pleased to hear about where you're from. At least he acts like it. And then Hensley comes back in and starts stuffing glasses into your hands. And the thing that immediately strikes everybody as the glasses are stuffed in your hands is that they are in fact made of glass. They're not tin cups. They appear to be some kind of cut crystal. And as they are all this very fine glass drinking ware with a stem, pushes those into everyone's hand and then comes back and starts filling glasses. Not with a lot. There's not a lot in it. He's not giving you a full big rum like this, but you smell it and it smells like it's some sort of liquor. It's a sweet smelling liquor. It's dark.
Stokes is probably so sad it's not a full glass.
Yeah. But
throws it back. Sorry, I need another.
Yeah. I dropped mine. But he starts filling everybody's glasses, and he's filling them from this weird carafe, this long-necked, onion-bottomed carafe, which is, again, made of this cut crystal on the outside. The glass stopper, he pours it out into everybody's glasses, having produced it from, you're not sure where it was in the room, but suddenly it's there. Everyone gets a glass, and again, it's just enough to throw it back, right, with the least amount of trouble. And then when they're all done, the Major Crafton raises his glass and says, "Gentlemen, the king." And he turns, and there on the wall, which has been there, but I guess it's been there, is a photograph of King George V, your King George, the king, right there, attached to the wall, the king. And he throws back his drink, and everybody in the headquarters throws back their sip and a half of drink. Does everybody else drink?
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm looking for my stemware skill and can't find it, so think I'm going to drink.
Oh, it's under hoity-toity.
Yeah. Before I take a drink right now, I really get the aroma in my nostrils, like just... You said it smelled sweet. But...
Oh, you want the bouquet, right?
Yeah, smell the blood sacrament. I mean...
Oh my god.
It smells like maybe a spiced rum of some sort.
Okay. Anything to keep you warm on the cold night.
It's not as dark as the rum ration. The rum ration in the Army and the Navy is practically obsidian. It is just the darkest rum imaginable because it's been made from the molasses that has been cooked down, distilled, to make other finer rums until there's this sludge at the bottom of the distillation, tanks that they use. It's just actual Navy rum is just it's hard.
Oh God, yeah, because
genuinely hard.
The levels between right now, it's like, oh, this is a good night out, and I need to forget where the fuck I am.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm on the North Sea and it's 2 degrees. That's plus we gotta convince you to drink it with lime and orange juice so you don't get your scurvy. That's originally where it came from. Was literally they gotta get them to drink the limes. We gotta get them to eat the limes, and it's like, well, how are we gonna do that? Put booze in it. The next thing you know, you got a margarita. So, anyways, or a daiquiri or whatever. So. Everyone drinks. It tastes like a very good rum, but it is spiced. It is not just the alcohol and sugar flavor that comes from rum casks. It tastes quite good. And that hits the spot. Gentlemen, dismissed. Captain Hutton sort of gestures to the door.
As we're exiting, I'll just go. It's like, sir, I may have one question though.
Hensley collects everybody's glasses again.
Yeah, just giving it back, but as I hand it in, I say, it would just seem by the grace of God himself right now that you have such fine crystalware to survive any amount of shelling out here.
Oh, well, it's this sort of thing sort of turns up every once in a while out here, We've got some pretty good scroungers in the company. There's no telling what sort of oddities they'll come up with out here in the ruins.
Slightly nod as my bullshit detector's going off, but...
Would you like to roll psychology?
Yes, I would.
Okay. That is your bullshit detector.
You should know more than everyone. God willed it.
Yeah,
God wanted it this way.
There's miracles and then there's lying. So.
Deus Vult.
It's providence.
I did succeed, though. That's 48 under 62.
He seems to be completely honest with you. He's just like, there's no telling. He says something like that. Some Jerry's left this behind in one of those concrete bunkers they built, but inside those, almost anything can survive.
Yeah.
But
So
they're far to our rear now. We can't use them anymore, except for maybe supply dumps or something. But somebody rescued these. Was that you, Hensley? Yes, sir. Ah, good man. Anyways.
Shall we drink once more to the health of the Queen, sir?
Get out.
For symmetry's sake. Yes.
Drink to a woman? Unless she's your wife? What are you talking about? Possibly your mother? I suppose they would drink the toast to the Queen if she was sitting on the throne, but she's not. So you were pulled out of there by one of the other NPCs, no doubt. As you stumble out into the sunshine here, actually, there's not much sunshine. It's a lot of cloud cover. It's all gray out here. Everyone make everyone make listen.
Night.
That's
Failed.
76. I failed.
Yeah.
I'm too tuned up on rum. I got nothing.
Anybody else? Anybody make it? Nobody.
Nope.
Sound of wind.
Yeah.
A shell must have gone off 200 meters to the east or something. Anyways, you guys are pulled out, and eventually you are marched through the march through this maze of dugouts and whatnot, and eventually come to, dugout 13. Chaplin, this is yours.
Home sweet home for the next amount of time.
The best number. Cool.
I was gonna say, like, there's no weirdness around that number, Padre.
Superstition at last, so...
Well, here's the thing I want to point out to everybody. The number 13 isn't considered unlucky in Europe. That's an American thing.
Oh,
In Europe, 13 is a lucky number. Actually. So,
Well, there you go.
So, again, divine providence. Need I give you more?
I knew I should have bought this flat piece of wood.
the dugout is a single, is basically got a single cot in it, and what appears to be there's a small like a folding chair, a collapsible writing desk as well. There is what appears to be a trunk, and maybe, like I said, wool blankets on this thing. There's some lamps and candles in here as well, or a lamp, I should say, and a few candles, including the place to put them over on the writing desk. But that's really about all that's in it, save for there is a cross on it that has been affixed there, hanging from a nail driven into one of the planks. You guys are going to be a little further down in dugout 15. In between is Lieutenant Farnsworth. You are introduced to Lieutenant Farnsworth. Captain brings him out. Lieutenant Farnsworth is maybe a year older than the veterans, maybe 23, something like that. He is thin as a rail. It looks like he would have a hard time pushing a beard out. I would point out that there was a time in the British Army where just before World War I, in fact, including the beginning of World War I, where the grooming standards required you to grow a beard or mustache. You had to have a mustache if you were in the British Army. I don't quite understand why that becomes a thing. Later, that becomes a thing where stay shaved so your gas mask will have a better seal. Guess mustaches don't count, but mustaches were a thing. That hasn't been necessarily enforced since the war started, but this guy would have had a hard time. Looks like he might have had a hard time meeting those standards. Guy looks young, but aged, and sort of dark circles under his eyes, like he hasn't had a lot of sleep. He snaps to when the captain shows up. These are your new replacements. Chaplin will be bunking next to you in the old Padres digs, and I'll report in later if you have any problems, Lieutenant. I've got to go back to the company. And Hutton leaves. And Farnsworth sort of looks you up and down and sort of says, dugout 15 for the 5 of you. And then doesn't salute, just turns and just walks off down the trench.
Well, I think we might have to share a little bit more rum with him before we get anything out of it. But
I quickly drink both rations of my rum.
Yeah.
Can't take it from me if it's inside me.
Are you sure? Have you seen the bandits they have? They can get that rum out of you if they absolutely need
Blood alcohol is a thing.
In any case, you guys get into your bunk, and there's room in this thing for 6 people, but there's only the 5 of you right now. There are essentially 3 sets of bunk beds. There's a rack for rifles. There's some little shelves that have been sort of nailed to the wall that are where you could possibly place a candle if you were reading or something. There are no chairs, no stools in here. There's just these bunk beds and again, the wood that made the bunk beds just looks like it came straight from the room with the big saw that cut them into planks and then just was hammered together. With any luck, before it got that far, I mean, yes, the wood has been killed, all right? It's not green. It's not out here in the wet deforming, It's been treated. I guess they use creosote or something, or maybe they kiln, dry it or whatever. But the wood is dry, and it is not, and it has been treated, but it has not been necessarily shaped or fiddled with any more than just get the basic shapes out for, creating a pair of creating 3 sets of bunk beds. Mm-hmm. So who wants to sleep alone and who wants somebody sleeping off?
I've been in any other position right now, so you may, I'll take one of the share a bunk with someone else.
You are going to be sleeping by yourself, Padre, because you're an officer.
Oh, you're right.
You're actually on the other side of Farnsworth's bunk.
Oh, you're right. So
Yeah.
never mind.
I would like to sleep by myself because then I don't have to be near Private Stokes.
Right. All right. Stokes, basically, Baker just says, right, you're in the bottom bunk, I'm in the top bunk.
Yes, sir.
He's the same rank as you, but you are his assistant Lewis Cutter.
I still say yes, sir.
As you're sitting down, you can sit by yourself. Unless anyone wants to fight Sanders for a bottom bunk, and you can't because he's a corporal.
Yeah, good luck.
He's like, says a lot of no. This is not going to be something people can't hear. But Sanders is like, I'm not sure which one of us more fucked, that major or that lieutenant. And Baker's like, yeah, that captain. He didn't say boo about either one of them, did he? Well, he wouldn't, would he? He's an officer. We're not going to call out each other, are they? That was fucking weird, wasn't it? And they're agreeing with each other, and they look at you guys and go, right, we don't get toasts and goblets when we're assigned a new billet. You know that, right?
Oh, I assumed it was not regulation at this point, but that we had at least had an honor for the moment, so.
It was just fucking weird.
Maybe it's something new they're doing to boost morale for the replacements.
Well, I won't say no. It was good rum. Really the best I've ever had. Won't be seeing that again.
I haven't drank from a glass that nice since church.
I don't think I've seen a glass that nice. Ever.
I mean, it still seems a bit odd, too. Even in a concrete bunker right now, you figured something would be knocked off of a shelf or whatnot, but...
Yeah, I don't know about that thing about the concrete bunkers. Said before I heard from fellows that when they lit those bombs under the German lines, those concrete bunkers, yeah, they'd kill the guys in the bunker from the shockwave. They'd just be dead from burst blood vessels, right? They wouldn't be blown to bits. When we overran those bunkers, just the officers in them were just dead. I don't know about glassware, I mean, they didn't have any glassware. Everything they had was pewter or tin. But can't imagine that it would have, done a bunch of goblets any favors. And he sure had a fuck ton of them, didn't he?
Yeah, that was, again, the fact that we didn't have to share anything was a bit of an oddity as well. And speaking of which, right now, that poor chap right now is sitting up there with the gas mask. None of you ended up, that's like just hanging out in that constantly when there wasn't threat of gas coming over the line.
Well, a sergeant, one of the sergeants or one of the lieutenants that had sorted them out. Corporal says, everybody's got their gree, their good luck charm or their whoopee. Make them feel better. Maybe that's his. But breathing through that, I don't envy him breathing through that all day. You get lightheaded after a while using the filters.
Yeah.
Not to mention if he's, I guess the filter wouldn't. I guess he wouldn't wear out the filter. The filter's designed to absorb a set amount of toxins before you have to throw it away. So it's probably not degrading it. So I guess it wouldn't render his gear less than combat ready. So I guess they're tolerating it. It is odd. That's more your department, isn't it, Padre? You should probably go talk to him.
Yep. Yes. So I will be doing that forthwith right now once we're fully settled in. So.
Right. I'm going to go find a sergeant, says Corporal Sims. I'm going to go find a sergeant, find out what nonsense that one is doing. The rest of you, put your stuff away in the lockers, and the foot lockers. And I'll be back in a few minutes. And Saunders takes off to go find a sergeant to tell him what to do. He says, don't worry, I won't look for him very quickly. Just get yourself sorted out and act away, and I'll be back when I found someone to tell us what's up. So, anyways, you guys start climbing into your bunks or whatever. Do me a favor, everyone make spot hidden rolls, please. Including you, Padre, if you're going back to your bunk.
Yep, I am.
Barely make it. 51 out of 56.
I got a 2.
I'll succeed. 19.
Okay.
24 under 45.
Okay. Cool. Caleb? Mr. Stokes?
Mm-hmm.
Private
Stokes.
Did you make your roll?
Yeah, I got 51 on it.
All right. All of you start, as you're putting your stuff away, you start noticing, you notice that in the corners of your rooms, there's certain carvings over the lintel and to leave your dugout. Directly over the lintel on the way out is what appears to be a swastika. I mean, it's sort of like a swastika. It's only got 3 legs instead of 4, and it's kind of sloppily drawn, but it's got a swastika over the doorway. Pagan symbol in the chaplain's dugout. What do you want to do about that, Chaplain? And the previous Chaplain, too, I should note.
Yeah, just taking a look at it as well. And would an occult roll reveal anything about why maybe this was put up on here?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Okay. All right. Shoot, that's over. Failed. 48 over 35.
You're not sure. It could be literally up there. It could be there to literally
we all
touch.
See it, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start.
It's in both bunkers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going. If it's by the cross or whatever, I'm gonna try and remove it.
There's no cross in your dugout.
Okay. All right.
But it is definitely like I say, over both lintels. You're discovering this separately.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to communicate that to each other at a later date because unfortunately rank separates you here. But you're not that far away from each other. Excuse me. Some input here from my roommates. All right, sorry about that. Cat alert for those of you who can't see what's going on in the recorded show. Yeah, you've known people to put a cross over a lintel like that. The kind of thing that you would reach up and touch as you're stepping out into a dangerous situation or a fraught situation. It could be something like that. It could be like a touchwood.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of for good luck. And you said that's like the Padres area was next to Lieutenant Farnsworth's bunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is he in or is he wandering
No,
at
he's
this
not.
moment?
He left. He walked out of his bunker.
Writing this down. Yeah, out of curiosity, I'll just walk back towards the enlisted men's bunk and just kind of take a look over it. Do I see, I guess, am I seeing running right into Howell? He's looking at it.
Well, yeah.
Yep. Yours, I just look over like, in here too, I see.
It's not right. This is it should be consecrated, shouldn't it? This pagan nonsense is unchristian.
Baker's like, it's just another of those Indian swastikas. It's just for good luck.
So, again, Hal, there's many religions. That's like before any of us came around too. So that's anything they can. That's like get hope out of.
Well, that's all those other religions are the devil's work. We need to just get rid of it, but something that will please God.
Well, I can say a couple prayers over it at this point, but right now, best not to. That's like to disturb sleeping dogs.
Look, Padre, it's kind of an albatross thing. It's good luck until some idiot wrecks it. So maybe it's just best to leave them alone. Here at the Padre, don't mess with it. You want to put up your cross? Put up your cross. I got one of those too.
Oh yeah, no, well, I had no intention of it. Just saying a prayer over it to hopefully maybe double our strength. So it seems.
Besides, says Baker, have you ever seen any of those heathen Hindu goddesses? It's amazing.
Very enlightened
response.
Philosophical. It's like the school.
Yeah,
Socrates
again, a very
here,
deep understanding of Hindu culture.
Yeah.
I said you went to Cornwell.
Reduced it to cup class.
I mean, they this is what they call bunker room talk, right? That's just.
Bunker.
Yeah,
Thank you. I am here all night.
Hey, what
Welcome
happens
to
in the
bunk.
trench stays in the trench.
Oh dear. All right. Well, all right. Thank you for shaming me. I appreciate that.
Happy to help, Adam. Happy to help.
I wouldn't being called rude and crude and gross would have been fine, but comparing me to certain individuals, that's just low.
That's true. I do feel bad about that.
Whatever happens to the party now is probably on.
No. If something happens to Andy Miller in his sleep, just know that this is the moment. This is the canon event that spawned it.
It's what we call the inciting incident.
You have Rena Tin and Geraldine, or whoever the fuck they are. Those two kids. You got those two little French guys.
Tin and Nanette.
Nanette and Rin Tin Tin. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I said
We're
that.
in Belgium. Yeah, of course, Rinton's running around here somewhere.
Amazeballs. All right. Where are you going, Padre?
I would actually like to. I'm just going to start going back down the line of where I was there. Particularly, I would like to talk to Wooster, because he just seems like he's in need of some counseling. So just to introduce myself, see if I can open up that communication.
All right. Sure thing. So, do you literally go down the line and be like,
Yeah, basically just introduce.
and just talk to people on the way?
Exactly, like any of the soldiers introducing myself, and it's like notifying for confessionals or whatnot in hours if we're doing that, if they do require it, blessing anybody who's wanting it.
That is one of the things you're going to end up being doing. Is one of the things you're going to be doing is literally setting up, the ability to do services, confessionals, whatever. That is a big part of your job. Is going to be scheduling all that.
Yeah, and I've figured I'll need to also inquire about an area where we can do that safely. So,
yeah. Well, right now it's relatively safe. You're down here in the reserve trenches as opposed to the support of the front line. So you get yourself down to Worcester and back to where you saw him, and he is not there. He is not at that observation post. There's somebody else up. In fact, there's somebody else up there who's got a pair of binoculars who's looking out over the other trenches.
just yell to him, like, "Private, excuse me."
Yes, yes.
That's like Chaplin right now. Do you know where the... Yes, do you by chance know where the... That's like the soldier who you relieved has gone? Goes by that's like Wooster?
I didn't relieve Worcester. He's not assigned this right now. I don't know if the sergeants have assigned anything since he,
Had a moment, so to speak. All that. That's like when we saw him when we were passing by no more than about an hour ago. Do you know where his bunk is?
Oh, yeah. And he says, let's get to like in dugout 33. It's down that way.
So much appreciated. So carry on. So, and just waddle my way down that way.
Okay. You eventually get to a bunker, one of these dugouts. The interior of it is only lit from the outside. There's no lights on inside. And but when you pull the flap aside, you see that on one of the bunks there is a soldier lying down. But apparently he is lying down in his full kit, with his boots on, his helmet on, his gas mask on, and his rifle with the bayonet on in the bed with him, next to him on the side that you would get out on. The bunks are basically arranged so that the bunks are against each wall that doesn't have the doorway, right? Common space.
Yeah, this isn't good. So, especially with the fact that, if this guy is truly in well shell shock, then he absolutely can stab and or shoot the moment if he's woken up and something. So,
you sure he's sleeping?
I'll at least gently call out his name, like, Private Wooster, hello?
He lies there.
I guess a listen check just to see if I can actually hear him breathing through the mask. So, just, I don't know anything, can't hear anything. So,
no, I'm sure he is.
Out of morbid curiosity, I will bring myself a little bit in. Is there, that's like kind of from the light that we're getting, is the same swastika still over the doorway?
Oh, if you want to look, yeah.
Yeah.
You can even feel it with your hands.
Yeah, I'll just kind of put my hand up.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there's one. Well, actually, there's two. Well, no, wait, there appear to be carvings all along the top of the lintel.
That's fine.
I'm not sure what kind.
I'm fine. Do I by chance have a lighter?
Yes, you would have a trench lighter.
The trench lighter? Okay, so yeah, whip that out.
They're not like Zippos of the later age, but there are lighters. But box of matches, something else you probably always have on you.
Okay, yeah, so at least get a match or maybe a trench lighter and put that up so I can at least get some light on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it all the same symbol?
No, it is not all the same symbol. There is definitely that thing, that swastika symbol. But there are some other things up there as well. There's what appears to be like bits and pieces of just sort of, I'd say some of it looks like just sort of scrolling, like somebody has carved out like, I don't know, shallow cuts, almost like scrimshaw is a shallow cut in whale teeth, whalebone, It's kind of polished. The wood appears to have been rubbed. Let's see here. There's definitely some English words sort of, carved into the lintel. Let's see. I guess if you go down to the bottom left of the door, it appears to go left to right over the doorway.
Okay.
Let's see. Bottom of it, give me a read English roll.
English? Okay.
Oh, is this like Old English or Middle English or something?
No, it's just poorly carved.
It's poorly carved. Okay, so. For the skill right now, that's 59, so I made it.
Okay. It says, along the shore, the cloud waves break, twin suns sink behind the lake. Strange is the night where black stars rise, and strange moons circle through the skies. Song of my soul, my voice is dead. Die thou unsung, as tears unshed. Songs that the Hyades shall sing. Make a listen roll, please. And a spot hidden.
Listen or a spot hidden?
Both.
Both? Oh, shit. Okay. Do the listen roll first. That's a big old failure. So for listen. And then spot hidden. I did make the spot hidden 17 under 47.
You're still reading the last line when you look over and realize that Corporal Worcester is standing about 5 to 6 millimeters away from you.
Startled back, just like, oh, dear heavens, man, you really need to have a bell on you.
He looks at you and says nothing through his little flat glass eyes.
You may see me pass by. I am not like the chaplain here. I'll call it like chaplain. It's like Erinmore. So let's like I was coming to see how you were, because to be honest, right now on your watch out, it seems to be strikes me as odd that you still have your gas mask on during a time when it's unnecessary. Are you feeling okay? Would you like to talk?
He does not.
Does he react at all, or
he does what he cocks his head like a dog.
Are you my mummy?
It's exact. I was literally about to I was gonna find a GIF of that and toss it in chat because that is the vibe.
Yeah. So, well, again, if not that, I understand that's like what this conflict has done to all of us. Although some more than most. Did you write this? This is it's very florid. So
he says nothing.
Okay. Well, if nothing else, I do want to let you know that I am setting up the hours. I am in the old Padres bunk. If you wish to have any time to talk, but my apologies for disturbing your rest. Have a good evening. So, and stumble backwards through the curtain, fighting with it halfway through.
He stares after you with flat glass eyes. The sunlight from outside sort of, reflects on the round glass lenses, causing them to sort of look like they have their own gloat.
Okay, going through. Did I get anything at that last spot hidden check before the listener?
The spot hidden was to realize how close he was standing.
Okay, he was all right.
There was something at the bottom of the lintel that you hadn't quite read yet.
Okay, I will probably try to come back when I know he's on patrol. So,
okay,
but just shaking that off right now. It's like, where's my rum and how do I get it back from Stokes?
Go ahead and make that sand roll, please.
Oh, absolutely. That's a failure.
All right, it's worth 1.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
The whole experience is slightly unnerving. Yeah, I mean, it's not like he split open into. It's not like he exploded into snakes or anything. But it's still not good.
Yeah.
Just wait till you find out that it's not that the hose isn't attached to the filter pack. It's actually just like in his side, like a. Just goes into a kidney or something like a
don't like that.
He's just rebreathing his humors. He's fine. He's fine.
No, we don't use humors anymore.
Oh, Icker. I'm sorry, Icker.
We have moved beyond humors. We know that germ theory is a thing. Mister is. We just haven't found any great antibiotics yet. I mean, that's all. I mean, this is still the age when they're using maggots to clean gangrene wounds.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to get any there right now. And I don't want to be the person to inject penicillin.
Let's hope that nobody needs maggots to clean their gangrene wound out. All right.
Yeah.
Say what you like about those little bastards. They actually do the job. It's really weird and horrible, but they actually do the job. It will stop an infection. Now, I don't know what to say about that except, yay, maggots or something, because.
It helps.
I mean, you were in hospitals. You worked in hospitals.
I've seen the jars. So
the other option is the other option if you can't clean up if sepsis gets away is they just literally put guys in wards, whack them up with as much morphine as they can stand without dying, and leave them for the infection to do its work while stuffing their pillows with some sort of aromatic bush. It's not heather or thyme, but it's something like that. It's this really pungent bush so that the men can't smell their wounds rotting. Yeah, that's the cure during World War I for sepsis, is they just give you as much morphine as you can stand, and you either make it or you don't. That's it. So try not to get shot through the belly if you could possibly possibly avoid it. Where to now, Padre?
Still on the line right now. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so I guess just continuing to make... Yeah, I'm actually going to start looking bunks. I'm going to start doing a specific... Because how big is our section on the reserve that we're essentially covering?
Well, you're actually covering more than just the reserve area. As a chaplain, there's the major is in charge of the battalion. There are captains in charge of companies. There are basically 3 companies here in this, and that is under strength. Because again, Passchendaele was no fun for anyone. But you've got, basically about you got a little less than 600 men, a little less than 200 per company. That's including replacements that have come in. And they're stacked basically 3 deep in this sector with, 200 in the front trench, 200 in the support trench, 200 in the... And that's your entire, thing. Services are the kind of things that are going to happen. My understanding is that services are the kind of thing that are going to happen mobile. It's not like troops can leave their positions to go back to a trench. You're going to be the guy who moves around the most in this scenario because you're moving up and down the line, and you're going to be going into places, and you're going to be one of the things that's very likely to get assigned to you, although one of the player characters might also get assigned to hold on 1 second while I readjust from this terrible, uncomfortable chair. One of the things you may end up doing is end up delivering the mail and picking up the mail. It's just one more thing where you might end up with a soldier who's carrying the mail bag or something. You're collecting the mail bag. It is not uncommon for the chaplain to write letters for the illiterate.
Okay. The
British still have a fair amount of illiteracy. In 1917, fucking crazy German numbers are in the 90% literate. But then you get over to Russia, Italy, those places, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's 30% literacy rate or, lower at this time. The British are doing pretty good, and somewhere I think in the 80s or something like that. I think they're doing better than America in this time period, maybe on par with the French, but those are standouts in Europe. It's not like that. It's not like that in all kinds of places that later become sort of our European paradises, like the Scandinavian countries, where suddenly education becomes a thing. But at this time period. Yeah, there's still plenty of people who might have to get their padre to write the letter for. So that's going to be just one of the things you're stuck with as a duty. And it certainly gives you an in to, sort of contact with the men.
But yeah, am I able to just take any of the soldiers out with me to kind of go on rounds? So
yeah, you can. There's no reason why you should not be able to.
So yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to our bunk. And, give an order just because as I'm going down, if I have any kind of paper with me or a little journal or something to kind of write down sermons or whatnot, I'm going to start write down exactly the poem that I saw written over the doorway.
Sure.
And and if I wanted to get back in, I'll stand there saying, we might have something to look into here. It's just... I'm
no big deal, right? No big deal, but
no big deal. But I'm wondering if there's might be more cases of shock in our trenches than we might be being led on to.
At some point during this time, during you're wandering around, Corporal Sanders finally comes back and he says, "Right, I found the sergeant. Let's see here, Sergeant. Let's see here, Wood, John Irwood. Yeah, he's giving me the duty roster." Looks like way back here in the reserve trench, we do have assignments, and mostly it's going to be carrying shit. There's dirt coming through the trenches from where they're digging out the new bunkers. They're bringing it up the tunnels, covered tunnels that go from one section of trench to another to remove the spoil. Rather than, some of it's being used to fill sandbags, obviously, but, you run out of that. That runs out pretty quick. The rest of it's being just basically carried out and, thrown into other areas of the back line. Apparently it's supposed to, if we carry a 50-pound bag of dirt for a kilometer and throw it out there, it'll fool Jerry's aerial reconnaissance into thinking we're digging someplace else. So congratulations. This is just shy of being told that the sergeant's hole is full of dirt and you need to get that dirt out of the sergeant's hole, right? This is not quite busy work, one step down. So congratulations. This is what we're going to be doing. So everyone, yeah. And here's the best part. You're not supposed to put your weapon down. Baker's like, I'm not carrying a fucking, 50 sack of dirt and the Lewis gun. All right. That's just not a thing that's going to happen. And he's like, nor should you, says the corporal. Yeah, I'll leave the Lewis gun here. The rest of you poor sods with it. Lienfeld, congratulations. You're carrying dirt and your rifle at the same time. Stokes, leave all the magazines for the Lewis gun behind. Each magazine's, I don't know what each magazine weighs, but they look like they weigh like 4 or 5 pounds each or something horrible like that. They don't look like to me. They look like, it's probably something horrible.
What's the gun, like 30 pounds almost, something like that?
I'd have to look it up.
I looked it up. It said like 28, but I don't know if that was loaded or not. It seems like a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. It's a monster. And it's weird looking, which is why sometimes it turns up as a Star Wars gun,
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's your day.
Well, I will leave our biggest weapon and all its ammo behind because I'm sure nothing will go wrong.
The corporal Baker is leaving behind, or is leaving behind his, Baker is the gunner. Corporal Sanders is leaving. I didn't mean to make Colonel and Corporal so close. That was an accident. I might change that name. But the corporal doesn't carry his fucking grenade bag. All right, he's a grenadier, and he's got this giant satchel that's just filled with Mills bombs. He just puts that shit down. Like, I'm not carrying a bag of grenades while we shift dirt. Believe me, if the Germans are interested in our sector, we'll have plenty of time to scurry back to our bunker and get the grenades.
So that's what your rifles have straps?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll do it one-handed. And,
I often carry Howell's rifle for his rum ration.
Oh, no, sorry. I need my rum ration for morale.
So,
my morale's important, too.
Yep.
Howell's on the shit list. Miller's my only friend.
I'll drink my rum ration in front of Stokes.
Now there's a blood vendetta against you.
What happens for the next? What happens for the next of the day is a lot of backbreaking work. Congratulations, welcome to the army. You are both bored, exhausted, and a little bit scared because you can still hear artillery. I mean, during the day, you are hearing the sounds of shells landing somewhere else. Nothing is so close that you can see a puff of dirt or black smoke coming up over the tops of the trenches, right? But you can hear it. It's never close enough so that debris rains down in the trench with you. But the places you're going to get these piles of, getting these sacks of dirt to throw, that's towards the front. You're going towards the front to pick them up from the other trenches. So you're passing through the support, and then ultimately you're in the frontline trenches, as these guys are digging and, pulling earth out and generally cutting into the ground. I don't know if the blue clay is this deep, but when we were doing Dig to Victory, there was a whole thing about the amount of cobalt or something in the dirt that created this bright blue clay that you had to move so that the Germans wouldn't know you were digging and tunneling that deeply. But regardless, you guys are essentially just being mules. You are your first jobs are to basically carry bags of dirt to the rear, empty the bags of dirt, pick up a bunch of raw lumber, probably pieces of lumber that are, 6 to 8 feet long, balance them on your shoulders, and carry them back to the front along with your empty bag, where you give them to somebody else that's going to use it to start working on their section of the trench, right?
Well, hopefully they don't kill and eat us like they did the mules.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully, I can't guarantee anything. A lot of things have gone sideways.
Wilfred Owen down there, he's writing his goddamn Carcosa poetry, then...
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, you start just going ahead and getting to work on this. Go ahead and everybody make me some spot hiddens, and everyone tell me what you read.
Ooh, that is an ought 5.
Good.
55 out of 56. No dice for me.
Yep. Fail as well. 57 over
I'm in the dirt
47.
zone.
All right.
I got a 4. So yeah.
All right, good.
Oof.
Yeah, 2 guys got excellent rolls. Now, you, Chaplin, Padre, have a different assignment. You're literally just going around introducing yourself. And now, one of the things that's down here, at least I believe is down here, so the best I can determine from my research is you literally have a folding altar. You have a priest kit that is just like a folding table that you set out the sacramental cloth on, and you've got the candles and everything else. And this is
like
just
do for communion and whatnot. So
yes, exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. Now, I'm fairly sure the act of communion is still part of the Church of England, not just the Catholics. Although I think the Church of England doesn't believe in transubstantiation of the Eucharist. It's just, I think they just believe it's a symbol.
Yeah,
as opposed to the
as
Catholics.
far as I know. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But yes, you have some sacramental wine. You're going to be giving it away in thimbles. You're not going to be pouring them a big old tumbler full of sacramental wine.
You're super saved. Get out there.
Get out there and dodge those bullets. Just pour the wine over him. No spear, no weapon forged by man can pierce his skin. Send him out like Mordred or whatever. Excalibur. So yeah, you've got that, and that's going to be something you're going to be taking around 2 people. It's going to be kind of mobile performing of liturgy, which means you're going to be doing it a lot. It also means you're going to be moving around a lot. You're not going to be doing services every Sunday. You're going to be doing services every day. And it's going to be short, abbreviated, but enough so that everyone gets
a little saved. Yeah.
Well, yes, a little bit of holy body armor. Okay. It's abbreviated, but it's still authorized by the Archbishop of Canterbury. There may not be a noun for the lesson today or the reading, but you will be sanctifying the Eucharist. You will be they will take communion. You will be arranging for times and schedules for confessions.
Yeah.
And times and schedules is basically, it's going to be super primitive. It's going to be you hanging a curtain in your dugout.
Box. Yeah.
And you're going to sit on one side of it, and somebody's going to come in and sit down on the other side of it. Right? That's it. And then there's a line of people waiting outside, and from these hours, you're going to be taking confession.
And no way I can't be attacked by Wooster in that entire situation. So just.
Well, if the bad ant comes through the curtain,
Dodge. Dodge.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll dodge roll in this game.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Suddenly remember the Bloody Benders, which were the gang in America that was murdering people by pretending to be a hotel in the 1850s or a roadhouse. And they would always sit at the dinner table and put the guest at the one end of the dinner table that was next to a curtain that supposedly separated the kitchen off from the dining area. And they just hit him in the head with a sledgehammer through the curtain. They were hook up the Bloody Benders. They end up only finding like 30 or 60 bodies on their property, and they disappear and are never caught, and they're just out in the Wild West somewhere being horrible. No one ever knows. They pretended to be a family, but they probably weren't a family. They were probably just an agglomeration of sociopaths.
Huh.
Yeah. And yes, that was the Bender family. They're like in
How
Kansas.
have I not heard of these people?
Oh, they're
They're awful. They're like Midwestern Sweeney Todd.
Yeah,
See, you had to hit on the creepiest thing that is with my personal fun, because I came to Missouri with my grandparents after they bought a motel. So this just makes
I'm just saying they're out that part of the country. They're like Missouri, Kansas. They're yes.
Ooh.
Like H.H. Holmes without the architecture.
Yes, exactly. They just had a little cabin.
Okay.
But they caught Mudgett. They caught Holmes. They never get the Benders. They get away, and nobody knows where they ended up. So, we got some scenarios with the Benders in it. That's just, don't worry, they couldn't possibly live to 1917. You're fine. It won't be whatever happens in the scenario won't be the Bender family, okay? Always wondered about that with Futurama. Is that why they were in the robot? In any case, you guys, do your loading. It's miserable. It's rough. It goes on all day. Now, Aaron, you're going around being the padre, and you start introducing yourself to people. And you hear a number of people, oh, that's lovely, padre. Oh, it's so good to have you. We were, yes, thank goodness. And you're also moving around between the sections of the of the trenches. You're moving from the support trench to the reserve trench to the frontline trench. Make an idea roll while you're doing that.
Okay.
You get the idea that this is a better job than hauling dirt.
You would think so. Yeah, 47 out of under 80.
Okay. Well, I don't know if there's anything particularly unlikely about this, but you'll notice that the people who are interested in confession and communion, the numbers seem to get higher the closer you get to the front lines.
Weird.
Yeah, funny that.
Strange.
Yeah, you don't get the super duper, well, thank goodness. They're like, But, as you get closer to the actual, where the shell impacts are, you start to hear guys being like, oh, it's about time we got a new padre back in here, It's been a while since,
Scared the last one off.
Well, it's funny you should say that, he didn't actually die.
Well, I'm of course pleased to see about that too. I assumed that
he just disappeared.
What do you mean disappeared? I just assumed his time was up and he rotated back out. So
oh no, we lost our padre.
How long ago was this?
It was about I guess maybe a month ago, something like that. I mean, I'm sure, they took him, there was a report on it or whatever, but yeah, he just didn't show up one day. And, first people thought, maybe he, no offense, Padre, but they thought maybe he went over the hill, he fled. But he'd been with us all through Passchendaele. He's a good fella. He went over the top. He carried guys back to the lines. He was a stretcher bearer. And performed some last rites in the field when he couldn't, when there was no point in carrying guys back. Oh, yeah, he actually went over the top with the rest of us. This guy's name was Sims, Gordon Sims.
Gordon Sims. So, I mean, I guess would that be possibly just a knowledge check to see if I was aware of him through? I'm not sure if it's the seminary for it or something. Yeah. I absolutely make that 33 under 150.
That's not a name that you recognize, but you would have had to crit that shit too.
Yeah, that's fair. So,
it's a big war. It's an even bigger war if you're French or German. I mean, boy, so much bigger armies than the British.
But yeah, I can at least get there. So, that's at least. I can't say where that's like that's like stress and horror take you enough right now where your mind will go, but that seems odd for what you've said for him as well. Yeah, know what happened. Although it does
he says that it was really odd because this has been this sector has been since the fighting stopped, and we pushed up. We hit all our objectives in this sector back in November. The fighting has really dropped off in this sector. It's been quiet for about 2 weeks or so now. And it was sometime in November the Padre disappeared, but I want to say it was after the fighting had stopped. We first started to dig in here, but we haven't had any losses we haven't had any killed in actions or wounded since offensive operations started. We just had the disappearances.
Seems odd. Actually, you may be able to answer another question for me, so I'll bring out my little notebook journal right now. Show him the symbol that I've seen carved on the doors right now. We've seen these on the back reserves right now. Some of the men may be just doing this for good luck. Has this been common around here on the front lines too?
Oh, yeah. Lots of guys got that either on their bunks. A few guys have put it on their rifle butts. Some people have made little charms out of like copper wire, twisting it into the right shape.
Yeah.
Since it started showing up. Well, actually, it showed up during offensive operations. Honestly, I don't know when the first one I saw was, but I got to tell you, it worked. 255 suffered less casualties than anyone in the King's Rifles Brigade. It is say what you like about that kind of stuff. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, Padre, but it's hard to keep some of these farm boys from just putting 2 and 2 together and getting 22.
Oh, well, in terms right now, even though we have what we consider the correct faith hoisting the cross right now, again, hope is hope in one way or the other. So, but no, that's interesting to at least hear.
This fellow, I guess you're talking to an officer. Let's see who you're talking to here. I guess you're talking to... you're talking to a Lieutenant Valentine. And Second Lieutenant Valentine. He's like young guy, aged before his time, as it were. But yeah, 21 going on 31. And he's like, yeah, I've seen those. They look like some of the Hindu stuff that my father brought back from India.
So, and that's like, do we have, that's like any particular, that's a question right now too, would they actually have had like the Indian soldiers from that over in the trenches? Or?
Well, mostly the Indians are up to their elbows in World War I, but the vast majority of them. And it is true that the British managed to waste Gurkhas on trenches, which just never fails to blow my mind, that they took the best mountain fighters in the world and said, hey, run across this open area where there's all these cross-fired machine guns. That would be good for you. Instead of sending them to the Italian Alps or something like that, have them fight down there. But they pissed away Gurkhas up here. There are probably Indian troops in this army. There are Australians. There are Canadians. There are New Zealand troops up here. It's the Anzac Corps, which is, again, Australia, New Zealand Corps. Plenty of Canadians. But most of the Indians, the vast, vast, vast majority of the Indians, are in the Middle East. They're going through their own horrible stories, like when they get cut off and surrounded at Al-Qut and are forced to go into Turkish prison camps, which are bad. Because the Turks are generally a fierce bunch of guys who aren't super thrilled about prisoners, but they treat those Hindus really bad. They maybe treat their co-religious, because the Indian army is full of both Hindu and Muslim troops. They may treat their co-religious better, but they treat the Hindu troops abysmally, like, war crimey levels. But the thing about World War I is that we don't get a lot of war crimes trials because we don't overrun completely any of the hostile powers. You know what I mean? They're not occupied to the extent that you could haul guys out for war crimes. You know what I mean? We don't occupy all of Germany. We just occupy the Rhineland. We don't occupy the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The only part of Turkey we occupy is the city of Istanbul, as we try to peel the Bosphorus off of Turkey. So lots of places, they do a very bad job to those guys. But at the same time, the Indians come back and kick their ass later. The Indians are all fighting in the Palestine. They're fighting in Iraq, Mesopotamia, as it was called at the time. That's where they're shedding all their blood. And some of them are fighting in Africa. I should also say that there are plenty of Indians chasing, what's his name, the World War I version of the Desert Fox around in Tanzania. So after the war is over, he's still running around not knowing the war's over, in fact. So they've forgotten the guy's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Indians are all over that part of the world.
Okay.
if there are some out here, it's very, very few. The only ones I know for sure that got to the trenches are Gurkhas, and while the Gurkhas also, I believe, I think the Gurkhas are Buddhists. I think they practice a kind of Buddhism that is related to Tibetan Buddhism, but I don't think they're Hindu. So,
okay,
but they're the only ones I'm sure about. But you're an educated man, part of the practically part of the gentry here. Some member of your family was the son who got the property, and another member went to the clergy. That was you, and another one got sent into the army. So we come from those people, and they, getting sent into the army at the time probably means getting sent to the Indian Army, which was separate from the British Army. You had to buy they didn't buy commissions anymore. They gave that up in 1880s.
Yeah.
But you probably ended up you had family members who were in India. That's fine.
Okay.
So you are familiar with the swastika. It's all over Indian stuff.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's all over American Indian stuff, and it's going to be showing up on Americans' airplane. Americans are going to put swastikas on their airplanes in World War I with Indian motifs, like Indian headdresses painted on the sides of their aircraft while they're shooting down Germans. So that's just how that goes in 1918.
It's just odd. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I just write down the information, but I also thank him, too, for that bit of info on there, just to release the good luck charms, but I'm bringing it back, and yeah, I've asked everybody else in there, too, that's like in our group, to go ahead and start scoping it out and just kind of marking it, and we have our map of the actual trenches, right? Yes,
there is. They don't want you to have a map of the trenches. The reason they don't want you to have a map of the trenches is because that can be captured.
That's true. Okay.
What they want you to do is learn the trench.
Okay.
So that so that it's up here. They don't want there to be street signs this way to command, because that's not what you want to have the Germans reading when they're piling into your trench during an attack.
Okay. Then in case I'll do one that I'm in my journal right now. I'm drawing something, but I'm just not naming anything, but I am marking essentially where it's like symbols are here, symbols are here, symbols are here. This makes Waldo. So if I put them all together,
and draw lines between them.
Yeah. So
all right, we're moving into that country. All right, understood. We're moving into that part of the game. All right, no problem. Anyways, anything you want to get done before you guys end up being worked until you end up with chow. At some point there is the food is actually not, food duty is literally out behind the last trench you guys are in, the reserve trench. That's where the actual field kitchen is, and it's literally something that's hauled behind a wagon. It's hauled like a wagon, but it's a big mobile field kitchen. And these guys are, basically what they do is they just create. It's almost always stew and bread, and then some poor bastards are assigned from each trench to go back and pick up one of these big tureens of stew or soup and pick up the bread bag, carrying these big bags, like duffel bags, filled with the bread that they're handing out. And that is sort of how chow is delivered. Or at least the big tureen is delivered, and then everybody uses their mess kit. I sent you that picture of the guys eating out of their mess kit and using the bread to something. Yeah, that's basically how that shit goes with its mealtime. And you're getting, your protein's mostly coming from beans, but there is meat in the food. There is, I should say there's plenty of meat. You're not Germans. How about that? The Germans have already eaten all the animals in the Berlin Zoo at this point in the war. So the
things could be worse.
Yeah. You're not being starved out by the German Navy surrounding Europe. Oh, it's the other way around. The British Navy is surrounding Europe and starving the Germans out. The British food supply is actually pretty good. So you're going to get the kind of things that are portable, that are brought up here. Meat will be tinned before it is added to the, it'll be, like a tin of ham, like a canned ham that is added to the stew and cut up into it, So, yeah, you're getting a pretty decent amounts of meat, but it's still very basic. You're talking about, it's a hot broth with some canned veggies in it and, not fresh. and you're talking about, boneless meat so they don't break your teeth off or whatever's left of your teeth, because you're British. Mopping that up, and that's it. That's and it's possible to go back and get seconds from the thing. You could actually eat more than one of those. Either mess kits. You could actually get more than one of those. There's also, there's these jugs, big clay jugs that is what the rum ration comes from, and when you're there, they pour it out into your tin cup, which is part of your kit, and so you end up being just put on that kind of duty after the sun goes down.
Simple as.
It goes on after the sun goes down.
Mm-hmm.
They still move Earth, but eventually you're going to be taken off it and basically being told, sleep. You're now ordered to sleep. Sleep now, and you'll allowed to go back to your dugout to get some Z's. There will be, like I said, this sort of life. This is, I'm just trying to illustrate it now, but it's a life where they're going to find something for you to do almost all the time. That's just how it goes.
Hands are the devil's plaything.
Yeah. And so after you're filled up on, at least hot, good filling food, and again, it helps if you're not under fire, not really under fire at this point. You're in good shape. Some other soldiers were assigned to haul the food in. You guys weren't on KP duty or whatever they'd call it, but any of you could get assigned to go haul the giant steaming pots for the back, and take them back when everyone else when it's empty. So that's a thing that could happen in the future. In the meantime, done. Your work goes on for a couple of hours after dinner time, and it gets dark before dinner time because winter. And then you guys are released back to your dugout to get some Z's. Now, Aaron, or rather Padre, what do you want to get done after it's sort of become lights out around here?
Okay. Like I said, are most of the confessions being done during daytime, I guess? So, or am I providing anything after hours for...
You would not be doing... This is your first day here. You're not doing confessions. You're just getting set up.
Okay.
You speak to Captain Hutton. He will arrange for some things like, he says Chaplain Sims should have some things. I mean, we packed up all of his personal effects, but he still should have some things like the curtain hung. There's a couple of folding chairs for the confessional, makeshift confessional.
I did have a question about Chaplain Sims, though, because I not obviously within the major command structure, but I still found it kind of somewhat odd that he just, what I was told, he just disappeared, though. And I can't understate this. I know I understate the stress that all of us are under at any given point, but that still seems odd for what was given no preamble. I mean, from what you see right now, he wasn't. Excuse my language, Padre, but Sims had iron in him. I mean, he was. He didn't flinch. He best of my knowledge, he never picked up a rifle, but he went over the top. He did some work as a stretcher bearer, as a corpsman. I saw him recover wounded under fire. He wasn't what you would call. I mean, he wasn't one of these guys who just knew he wasn't going to get a scratch. He was afraid. He was afraid. He just did it anyways. That's true bravery. So,
and he didn't get into He didn't get into the sacramental wine, as far as I can tell. But so he wasn't doing this with liquid courage. He was just a really solid fella. I don't know what could have caused him to take off, which is one of the reasons I think he could have been snatched by a German trench raid. We've lost some soldiers since we've taken these positions, and they've absolutely. I mean, a number of them disappeared while on guard duty.
Although I find it a bit odd, considering that over the last 2 weeks, there's been nothing here. Though it's been relatively quiet.
It has been relatively quiet. There haven't been injuries from shrapnel. There hasn't been a gas attack. There hasn't been, of course. The thing about gas attacks is gas doesn't usually happen unless there's a big push, because you have to have such a high concentration of gas in an area for it to be effective. Otherwise, it's just an irritant agent. It just doesn't really, You have to lay down a ton of the stuff to actually have it to be effective. So there's no point just randomly popping gas shells at a time. But yeah, as far as I can tell, we had one sentry taken. But we also had a number of fellows who just disappeared from their dugouts. That was the last time. This all happened the last time we were during our last two rotations up to the front lines. When we were going this next time, we're on the front lines when this happened. We're not in the support reserve trench. This time we're not having individual guards. We're actually going to keep watch with two guards at every position to watch each other and ensure that they don't fall asleep on guard duty. And we're going to keep it's going to cut into some fellas' sleep, but hopefully it'll keep the front trenches safer if we double up the actual watch inside the trenches. It has everybody on edge, simply because there weren't any answers for it. And so far as I can tell, the Germans haven't bothered C Company either. This is A Company. And they just haven't bothered being C Company at all. I don't know why. These attacks happened while we were at the front.
No, definitely ought to. But they can thank you for your candor on that. But yeah, at least I guess the last two questions I'll at least give in this case is that even so, if he was just taken right now, was there anybody that is still here in the company that he was associating with more to on regular benefits, friends, or anything that might have known something?
No, not that I'm really aware of.
Okay.
I mean, feel free to ask around. I'm sure some of the men might have known him better than me. He honestly spent the vast majority of his time amongst the enlisted. He didn't see himself as officer class, and seemed to prefer to mix with the enlisted men rather than the officers.
You can be literally down in the trenches helping who you can. That's, again, admirable, and we should
live up to the Chad Padre.
I'm trying.
Look what good it did him. Are you sure you want to live up to him? I mean, what happened? He just vanished one night,
Just be a shitty Padre. See if they
survive. So, but no, the last question, last request that I'll have, though, I was checking in on Wooster, and he doesn't seem. I don't really feel like he's in the right sorts right now, and unfortunately, the toll of being here, even on the reserves, might have been taking it. So, again, it's more of a recommendation that he might be pulled back for care off the front. So, at least until he's in the right mind, because I've been around those who. That's like, frankly, even though they seem to be in the right mind, take one moment off of them right now, and their service pistol is to their head. So,
well, I'd hate to do that to Wooster. He was written up for a VC. If we were to take him out of the line now, that could poison that opportunity. For a poor lad like him, a VC is it's could open a lot of doors for him. Whereas those doors will be shut if he is judged to be a shirker, a malingerer, or a shell shock case. He did a lot of hard work in the pepper. I'm hoping he'll just get to a point where he feels comfortable being face to face with people. As far as I can tell, he's not worried about gas. It's just.
I think it's connection, too, because quite frankly, again, he gave me a start. And again, I leave this up to you. I don't want to ever put any features, but I do put what I've written down. It's like showing him this was written around his door. And then I found him literally, that's like literally inches away from me.
What do you mean? He gets you to explain a little better. It's like he came in the dugout, he was asleep.
Yeah, I give him the whole story, too. I have no reason not to hide it, too. I tried to wake him. I didn't want to disturb him if this was the case. As I was looking over on this, poetry that was over there.
He says those 4 Jerrys in the machine gun position never heard him coming either. He is quiet. He spent a lot of time scouting ahead for us. I was very useful to the company. Saved lives, and I'm not really sure that I want to deprive us right now of that asset. But I'll be sure to talk to his lieutenant, keep an eye on him.
And that's all I can really say in the matter, too. I, again, don't want to, remove anybody from a potential future that could be helpful, but it's at least my duty to point out where they may be. It's at least a danger to themselves. And then,
I appreciate your concern. You're just doing your job, but don't worry, I'm going to do mine.
So, duly noted, sir. So, salute. Here's the rest of the report. Good night. So,
okay, you guys hit the sack.
Quick question. So sorry.
Yeah.
I obviously know what VC means, but for the listeners who may not know, what is
Victoria
that?
Cross, right? Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Victoria Cross. It's the highest decoration you can get. The British love handing them out whenever they get their ass kicked to make it look better. The highest density of Victoria Crosses ever handed out was the Battle of Rorke's Drift, which was a battle that the British managed not to get massacred at after they got massacred at the Battle of Isandlwana, where nobody was left to give the VC to. But this one troop of soldiers managed to not get massacred and not be the British version of the Little Bighorn. And so they just sprinkled Victoria Crosses over that in the hopes that people would not remember the part where they absolutely got bodied by the Zulu nation at the other battle that happened, I think, the day before or 2 days before, something like that. But it's still out. It's still given out today. It's still out there, and still sometimes it gets handed out after disasters. They handed them out pretty thickly at Passchendaele. There's a lot of that because they're again trying to put the best face on 500,000 casualties for 6 miles. I'm not even sure if it's 6 square miles. I mean, it's just 6 mile penetration at its deepest point. That fucking offense. The other thing is, it's their highest military reward, and still is right there in the British Army. So good call. Appreciate that.
I'm always looking out for the listener's best interests.
Sure.
All right,
Visa Pro.
It's true.
Now you guys all hit the bunks. Everybody, make a SAM roll.
Of course.
Tell me if you miss.
Fuck.
I absolutely miss.
Definitely miss.
56. I'm fine.
Let's see here. What is my sanity? I think a 77 is a failure. Out of 70, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. This is going to be interesting. Hold on while I roll for the NPCs. Because it's going to
Delta Green, that would be a crit failure, but I don't know. I don't remember Call of Cthulhu's crit fail.
Well, we're not doing. I'm not doing crit failures on good old fashioned sanity. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So those of you who dream, those of you who sleep, dream. You give me a power roll from each of you.
Ooh.
The winners or the losers?
Everybody who failed their SAM roll.
Everyone who failed. Okay.
Must now roll a power roll.
Power times 1?
Five.
Oh, power times 5.
Yeah, okay.
So you're starting, Sam. I also fail that. It's an 80.
Okay.
I do make that.
Okay. And what about you, Caleb?
I have the power, just not the sanity. Yeah.
Okay, so you did make the power roll. Okay.
I made the power roll, not the sanity.
I failed both.
Yeah, same here. So yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, the next morning, all of you wake up. Well, not exactly all of you. Private Miller wakes up rested, ready to face the day. This whole war thing is just not. Okay, it's like farm work. It's kind of like annoying that way. But apart from that, no big deal, right? It's going to be fine.
I mean, again, I am a realist, right? Like, I am being as objective as possible 100% of the time. Like, I come here, I show up, I do my duty, and eventually I'll be able to go home because I will do everything right.
Yeah. You wake up fine. The rest of you, including our two veterans, Bakers and Saunders, wake up basically feeling, ugh, I did not have a good night's sleep. You have feeling, everyone feels like they didn't sleep well. Not sure if it was the food or it's being back in the trenches. But yeah, nobody slept well. And there's a vague feeling that perhaps you had nightmares, but it's hard to tell. On the other hand, Private Eddie Howell, let's talk about your dreams. At least you're sure now that you're awake. Now that you're awake, you're absolutely sure it's a dream. Because you're awake. And this is real life. Right? Right. So the question is, where were you last night? Cobblestone streets, lampposts, a sort of a foggy London street. I mean, you were in London briefly during your time as you were transported to training, and you saw a little bit of that London fog. But yeah, you find yourself lost on a street. I presume it's a street because at your feet you can see absolutely your cobblestones of a cobblestone street. And you can see these blobs of light in the distance as you approach them. There is sort of these kind of Art Nouveau lampposts. Now, you guys familiar with the difference between Art Nouveau and Art Deco? Deco is all very artificial looking. It's all very industrial looking. It has a lot of sharp lines.
Like arts and crafts movement. Yeah.
Art Nouveau is elves. Art Deco is dwarves. There you go.
That's not terrible.
No, I took art history. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and yes, it's all very industrial looking over on Deco, and it's all very natural looking. Why build a column when it can look like a tree trunk or something that has vines growing up with petals and stuff? And certainly that's the kind of thing you're seeing when you move closer to the lamppost. It's the bottom of the lamppost looks like the roots of a tree. It's bronze-ish. It looks like bronze. And the lamppost has what appear to be vines growing up the lamppost to the top to wherever the light is up there. It's a very bright white light on the top of these things. And the problem is that whatever this fog is that you're down in, it doesn't necessarily, this material, this fog swallows the light. So you get these big spherical, floating balloons of light around the lamps, where the light basically gets down to the bottom of the lamp, like the light from the light on top gets down the bottom. So when you're standing over here, the light from the lamp is reaching the wall of whatever building you're standing in front of. But it's not necessarily reaching it at the ground. Down here on the first floor, it's a little dark and dim. And then, maybe it's lighting, maybe the sign is sort of illuminated by the circle of light. It's not doing a great job showing you across the street. You can sort of tell where the streets are because of the way these lamps are positioned up and down the street, on both sides of the street. There's basically, on every corner, there's one across from the other on the other side. There's not four at each corner. There is one on the opposite side. The streets are old streets. They're not designed for cars. They're designed for walking. They're designed for cars. Yeah. You basically find yourself in this labyrinth of streets and lights and darkness, and if there is a sky above you, one presumes that it is a night sky, but you can't see it through the fog. that's above you, this mist. It's thick enough that it's blotting out the stars, the light, the moon, if there's anything up there. At first, it feels very natural. When you first find yourself in this situation, you feel like you're looking out of your eyes. You don't see yourself in the dream. You don't see yourself as a third person.
I can't see my own hand.
Or you can lift your hand up.
Okay.
But it's very much like you're looking out of your eyeballs in this dream. I don't know if you've ever had a dream.
Disassociated, yeah.
You know, I don't know if you ever had a dream where you are separate from yourself.
Yeah.
Where you see yourself in a, that's, I don't know. It happens to me, and it's the moment I realize, oh, it's a fucking dream. I can see myself. You know, I can relax now and not worry about it. Right. The other dead giveaway is when they're asking me to take a test, and I'm like, I haven't been in college in decades. Ha! Gotcha, dream. This isn't real. You know?
Weirdly enough.
I hadn't gone to school. I haven't been to class all semester, and now there's an exam. Yeah, fuck you, dream. That's tired shit. You have to come up with something better than that.
No, weirdly enough, I actually did have a dream where I was being swarmed by zombies this morning. Like, I woke up at like 5 a.m. being like, so yeah, no, I know, yeah.
I'm sure there's no zombies here. I'm sure there's no zombies.
I'm fine, yeah. I will keep following the lampposts, like, trying to keep myself so that I don't move. I'm trying to see, you know, look for the light and just keep walking.
Okay. It's a little hard to get your bearings because you're never quite sure. Are you covering the same ground twice? I mean, you just pick a straight line and try and keep plunging.
Yeah. Trying one line and not never.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You do. There's you start to hear something. You start to hear what sounds like maybe a bell in a buoy. Like that sort of clang, clang, that sort of, you know, rhythmic sound of a buoy with a bell in it to give away its position, you know?
Okay.
And do you follow in that direction? You pick a different direction?
No, I'll follow it. I'll see if I can, yeah.
Go ahead and make me a listen roll.
20 out of 55 or something, yeah.
Every once in a while when you stop, you feel like you hear another footfall behind you. Like somebody else stopped. They weren't quite as quick as you were to stop.
Okay. I will pick up my pace.
Okay. By the way, you're dressed in civilian clothes.
Okay. Like
you're not
my
wearing
clothes? Or
yeah,
clothes
your clothes that you used to wear at home.
All right.
But you're not dressed in military gear.
Okay.
All right. You get down to where you start to hear the sound of water. You start to hear the sound of water. Like very shallow beach break. Just splashing. There is a breeze that picks up, a wind, and the fog is pushed away over you, just almost disappears like almost as quick as in some ways it's like a magician pulling a tablecloth out from under all the settings. But you find yourself on a dock, or in front of some docks, piers, upon which and at these piers are these rather fantastical looking sailing ships. They look like 18th century, maybe 19th century
sail kind of stuff.
Yeah, age of sail stuff, but it doesn't have the hard, simple lines of practicality that those ships had. These vessels have this sort of, again, Art Nouveau, Baroque style and feel to them. They are decorated with metals that are beaten into the wood. Instead of like black iron nails, there's like, you know, these sort of brighter metal nails, maybe like a alloy with maybe copper or something, almost gold-like on them. There are, the woods are not the sort of stained, dark, treated woods you'd imagine from, you know, sailing ships where they treat them with tar and pitch to waterproof them. They are lighter, brighter colors. Okay. But As the wind blows aside, you realize that you are on some sort of a coastline. There is the buildings around you that are revealed. They have kind of they sport a number of styles. Some of it has the look of some of the French and English older buildings you've seen since brought to the city. The war started, but at the same time, some of them are built like they're built like a glass hookah. There's towers with onion-shaped domes on top of them. There's staircases on the outside of some of these buildings that look like the kind of staircases you'd imagine on the inside of a building, like a big double staircase that comes. There's a door on the second floor and a double staircase that comes down, like you'd expect to see at a great hall, but it's outdoors. There are plenty of columns of stone and wood. Almost nothing is as boring as a Roman, simple Corinthian column.
Okay.
They're shaped like people, holding up roofs and things. There's columns that are shaped almost like a corkscrew design, with sort of a big bulging corkscrew that goes up to the second floor.
Yeah.
It's nothing you really recognize. But as I said, the fog is blown away, and it seems to retreat out over the water. It goes over the water, and as it does, give me a spot hidden.
Okay. Let me check. That's close. Oh, yeah. 52 out of 56. Yeah.
Okay. At first, you're not sure, but at first it looks like only the lower half of the fog is disappearing.
Yeah.
That, like, the rest of it above you is staying in place.
Right.
But as it rolls out, you're looking up and you're seeing that there is something in the fog above you. These weird little shards of blackness stuck in all that fog above you in various sizes, and there's quite a lot of it. It's almost like pepper thrown across. If there was a bale of loose cotton, thank you, Kat, then the pepper has been thrown across the bales of loose cotton, and it's all over the tops of the cotton like that. That's what it sort of looks like above you. And as the lower area of the fog draws away, there is suddenly a point where you see the fog rolling away reveals a silver moon, full, very low in the sky, very, very big, just dream unnaturally big moon.
Yeah.
And it is bisected by a pair of dark lines that basically go up and down. They're right in the middle of the luminescence of the moon. And this cat has decided that my dice are awesome, so I'm going to throw the cat down. So much for building a moment, right?
Yeah.
But you see this thing, this sort of scene, and opening up before you, and as the fog pulls back across this lake and reveals what appears to be there's a black landscape on the other side of that lake. You can see it because it is silhouetted, much like the two sort of stripes of blackness that go up into the sky. That's silhouetted against that white fog that seems to be filling the sky. You make a spot hidden.
Okay. Yeah, 9.
There's a figure beside you, very quiet, obviously.
Yeah.
A figure beside you wearing a hood and cowl. And as you turn to face them, you turn to notice them, you just hear this whisper, "He is coming." And you wake up. Now, It's not worth any sand loss yet. Just wait till you combine it with some other things you learn later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're fine for the moment. You're unsettled. It's all weird, but it's a dream.
It's a dream. Fine. It's fine.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Now, gentlemen, we're at 6:40.
Yeah.
What do you do when you wake up?
Well, I want to talk
Everyone
to
else is like,
yeah.
Everyone else is struggling to get some hot coffee.
Yeah.
Big things go like that. What do you do with yourself?
Father, I had the most disturbing dream. I dreamt I was on a lakeshore. There are these the moon was impossibly large. And cloaked figure told me he is coming. But I don't think it was like in a good sense. I think it was rather ominous. I was in this ancient city and it was quite different.
Is there a point where you just tell him to stop talking?
Confession hours are from noon to 5.
I start taking
Also-
the piss out of Howell. Like, oh, you saw him, didn't you?
Saw who?
Him. You. I bet you didn't put it in your pocket. You didn't take any dirt yesterday. I saw it. It's the dirt man.
The dirt man?
Miller took dirt, and you didn't put any dirt under your pillow?
No.
It's obviously the dirt man. He's come to town.
I'm not going to follow any pagan customs. I'm a good Christian man.
I try and get Baker.
The Lord
to
is
start eating
testing me.
Shit too. Like,
Yeah.
you put dirt under your
is
pillow, right?
testing
Yeah,
you.
obviously. Yeah.
The Lord has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Baker tries. Let me see how Baker does trying not to laugh, because as soon as you said the dirt man, oh no, he absolutely deadpans it. He's just like, oh yeah, lad, you've got to take some dirt, put it in your pocket, keep it with you, don't lose it. You know, little bag of dirt. And that'll make sure that it's not sprinkled atop you later.
Are you going to tell him he's going to turn into a vampire later? This is not helpful at all.
Where he keeps his dirt. Don't want
Fine,
that.
I'll get my pocket dirt.
It's all right, Padre. We'll sort him out later.
Yeah.
No big deal.
I don't.
We're all having bad dreams, all right? We're all having bad dreams. I have a bad dream. Anybody else? Yeah, I didn't sleep good either, which is...
I felt I was back at the stables, but I don't talk about that anymore.
I don't want to hear another word out of your mouth, Padre. Now, mind you, everyone's sort of like Josh about the bad dreams that they had, but Miller, you're in the clear. You didn't have any bad dreams. You're fine.
Yeah, why would I? I was so tired after moving all of that dirt and shit yesterday. I conked out like dead brain, like just like a log. It was surprising, but also not, because again, physical exhaustion.
Well,
Look at the bright eyes and bushy tail on this lad. Al, this is someone who understands the dirt man.
All the
No.
work.
now
His 18-year-old fresh-faced little nugget.
fantastic. Listen, we're going to be. The corporal tells you. Corporal Sanders says, "Look, Sergeant says we're moving up to support trenches. So get ready to pack your gear, and we'll move right after we get food, and we'll get set into new dugouts, trade places with the support trench. They're going to be moving up to take over the front line. So we'll be in those trenches for, I think it's 3 days before we have to move again. Let's see here. Yes. No, 4. Excuse me. This is the end of this unit's time in the reserve trench. We'll be up in the support trench for 4 days before moving into the lines for another 4 days, then back to reserve. So pack your bags, get ready to go. And we will be off and moving into our new positions. So he leaves you, he's bagging his stuff up. This is just what his sergeant has told him.
Yeah.
So you guys sort yourselves out, put your kits back together again, pack everything back up, and you go through the process of trading out positions. And it happens a platoon at a time. It's not everyone charging and changing positions. It's like, okay, set up first, first platoon, second platoon, third platoon, for A, B, and C companies. And everyone does this sort of choreographed push and shove through the tunnels underneath almost no man's land to trade positions. And you guys are directed into, after you have breakfast, and breakfast is pretty much what dinner was last night, all right? Except maybe with the addition of coffee, hot cheer to pour out. But you guys get settled into a near dugout. And there you go. And give me some spot hiddens as you're all settling down.
Nope.
I make that one.
Crit ot 5.
Okay.
Where's my spot hidden? Do not make it.
All right. Well, you would have needed to credit because it was in your trench, Chaplin, Erinmore. Or not in your dugout. But Private Stokes also noticed it. You get into this new dugout and you're starting to set yourselves up with it. And sure enough, there is some stuff carved into the lintel of the room, of the dugout. And it says, along the shore, the cloud waves break, the twin suns sink behind the lake. And it's written up the side of one of the lintels. And let's see. I guess it goes over, and yes, it goes up the top of the lintel, or as it turns the top of the lintel, it says something about strange is the night where black stars rise and strange moons circle through the skies. And it's, like I said, written around the lintel in their dugout, not yours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should also note something else. The dugout, you come into it, it's got these steps going down. The wood in this dugout, after having been cut, appears to have been sanded and planed.
Well, da.
What effect?
So what effect? I mean, it's not rough. There's not splinters hanging off of it, at the edges.
Nice that they took the time for that, but that seems weird.
It's the same thing in your dugout there, Colin, Erinmore. Yours is when yours was a cot, right? Just a folding cot, right?
Yeah, simple.
Yeah, this one is a steel frame bed with a spring and a mattress.
I mean, I assume it's not like a nice mattress, just something else.
Not. It's a rusty, it's a rusty metal frame, and so are your bunk beds. They're metal frame bunk beds, and they have basically there's a spring, and then there's a spring across the bottom. And they all have these kind of thin, kind of worn out mattresses on them, but it's more comfortable than the previous wooden bunks. That what you had below you was just wooden slats, right? That the mattresses or the blankets sat on top. Yeah, when you were looking at that crit in your room, you notice that the wood has actually been fashioned so that there's a groove, a tongue groove, so that the top of the one piece of wood goes inside a groove on the other piece of wood, so that it's sort of they're sort of sealed together better. There's no space between the boards.
Yeah.
There is a couple of hooks drilled into the wall in your dugout for possibly hanging things like coats or hats or something like that, or possibly helmets or whatever. Still have there's the folding camp chair. There's in fact two. There is basically in the ceiling there has been like a steel rod put down, or rather drilled into the ceiling, so that there's a steel rod with a curtain on it that can be pushed to the side and open up and then closed to create a confession space. There's a very nice crucifix rather than a cross against your back wall. I believe crucifixes are used by Church of England. It's not just the Catholics. But when you first were down there, it was just a simple wooden cross. This is a partially metal crucifix. Like the figure of Jesus on it is obviously cast in metal. Mm-hmm. INRI across the top. Yeah, it's a distinct improvement from your last digs.
Feels slightly odd considering, closer we are to hell, the nicer our exit is. But I don't understand this one.
Yeah.
At least, again, where were they able to find this, too? Because it seems like that would be kind of a bitch to transport. Let's just be honest and get this front right now. So what's the purpose? And I definitely, after I see this, I go back and to the other bunk with their dugout with the others and look at it and go like,
give me an idea roll.
Yeah, I can't. 9. I very much succeed that.
How'd they get these bunk beds down that staircase?
And I'm looking at the bunk beds too, because I'm assuming that they just didn't assemble them in here. So
well, you start looking at the bunk beds, and there appear to be some places where screws go in to screw the ends of the frame to the thing that holds the spring. The end, the standing ends plus the parts that are attached to the spring. Those are a frame.
Was everything welded together, maybe, or
no? It looks like it's screwed together with bolts. So I guess you could dismantle them.
That would still be a gigantic undertaking, especially with where you're potentially under fire at any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is... Does any of this strike you as odd? Just...
You asking
everyone else. So, yes, I am. So
all right. Anybody got something to say before the NPCs pick up?
I didn't notice it, so I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you notice that there's bunk beds. You don't notice the thing that's written on the the wall there. Ross noticed it, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can make of that whatever you want, considering what you've dreamed recently.
But it's like this. This makes no sense. How did it get here?
I think Sanders says something like, "Well, that's fucked." Pardon me, Father.
Forgiven instantly. That's you're not incorrect.
Where the fuck did they get this stuff? They're just like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Doing an Irish accent for English soldiers.
Yeah. Further back in a concrete bunker.
Yeah.
Just
maybe he starts looking at. I don't see anything on this that says "made by Krupp." So I'm not. I don't know. Krupp, Siemens. Maybe
a French villa, a chateau, was looted.
Yeah, well, that'd just be like a wooden bed. These are like from an institution or something. These are like army base. These are like army base or prison or something or hospital.
Maybe a prison was looted for beds. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Padre, that's fucking weird. That's odd. That's uncanny.
I think I have more questions right now for our other intrepid captain. See if we can get some answers from this or the command structure. But I can at least do that along my rounds right now. As looked over, have you checked in with the sergeant to see what your duties are for today?
No, says Saunders. I'll after we get ourselves set up. I'll be handing out more assignments for the day, I suppose. I'll check in on that myself.
Okay, I do have a command to go with right now, and what you will, but because I assume I see the writing on the the doorway. So
yeah, you did when you came in. You had to point it out to everyone except Ross.
Yeah.
If
you've seen any of this,
nobody says that they saw it before. I mean, the two NPCs like, I've never seen that before.
So it's this writing's on other ones right now. It's on Wooster's. That's like on Wooster's end there. I was certain he wrote it himself or carved it. But
maybe this is Wooster's bunk.
I mean, is there any gas mask pieces lying around that we are unaccounted for?
But we do have a free bed in case he comes in.
I mean, if nothing else, just keep your own firearms on you if necessary for that one, because he is carrying and sleeping with his.
Yeah, you say, wait, he's sleeping with his rifle in his bunk.
He absolutely is.
All right, says Sanders. I'll have a word with the sergeant about that. That's not safe.
I mean, good luck on that. I had the word with the captain.
He's supposed to put it in the rack. That's just a great way to go off in the middle of the night. Blow somebody's.
No, I've already had words with the captain about this right now and gotten
Did you mention the gun? He's sleeping with his gun.
So I mentioned all the behavior. So at this point, sneaking up on me. So yes,
really. All right. Well, says Sanders, that's bananas. All right, fine. Yeah. I'll go talk to the sergeant.
In the meantime, I'll be taking care of confessionals, so just keep an eye out for this right now. If you find it, do me a favor and just write it down, if you can.
Okay, if I do what?
If you see any more of these poems on there right now, just write them down to see if they're similar or not. So,
right, okay.
Like I said, if you have a chance, if not, just memorize it if you can. So,
yep, 100. I'll keep an eye out.
Chaplin out here assigning homework.
Yeah.
I can't be everywhere at once. I got to hear Sid's.
Now, it is 6:59. We've done our 4 hours.
Yep.
I suggest we break as you guys move into your new digs, and pick up next time as you begin to explore your new environment.
Hal, you better have some pockets full of dirt when I get back. You're not going to let you curse this unit. The ire of the dirt man.
Yeah. Is he the Mudman's brother? Is that it?
They're related. They're related.
It's a big
I'm not saying that they're brothers.
So what's going on with the trenches? Well, you'll have to find out in part 2 for King and Country. But thank you all for listening, and thanks our players, and of course Mr. Glancy himself, the man, the myth, the legend, as totally normal things are happening here in the trenches in Belgium. Just some bad dreams, nothing to worry about. It's going to be fine. We haven't been shot at. We haven't had to dodge anything. No one. Yeah, we haven't had to shoot anybody or be shot at. So, like, why are we even complaining? Yeah,
we're not dead.
It's not like you're. It's not like you're at day 40 of Verdun or something.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
Fine. You're fine.
Look, Andy Miller has no intent on dying. He's going to get home. He is far too educated to be out here and die in the trenches.
He's 3 days from retirement, right? All right.
At 18.
We'll have links to Queen's Court Games, Delta Green Dead channels in the show notes. Please check out V's and Caleb's projects. And thank you again, Scott, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.